Welcome to the 2018 Valero U Sports East-West Bowl. We're just outside of Quebec City on the Laval University campus in St. Foy, Quebec. I'm Justin Dunk, your play-by-play man for the day, joined by three-time Vanier Cup champion, former Laval Rougeau receiver Matt Leblanc. Beautiful day here for football, Matt, about 12 degrees. Wind kind of swirls in the stadium, though, doesn't it?
It does, and you know what? I don't think it's necessarily a kicking day that we'd like to see. I think we'd like to see the ball thrown in the air and seeing defensive backs making plays and wide receivers catching the ball and actually using their vertical jump to make us stand up and clap. However, the wind shouldn't be too much of an effect, and I think the sun today will participate and help the players out to shine as best they can in front of the scouts.
Certainly. We have a little bit of a background having played in this game back actually against each other in 2007. Do you remember the score of that game and what happened at the end?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I do, and the East lost, so hopefully they'll regain that. And they lost by a kick that hit the post at the end of the game by none other than yours truly. So at the end of the day, I hope the outcome today is a bit better for both teams. But when both teams come out and battle and put their best skills forward, I think the players are not looking at the outcome necessarily for the win, although that they want to. But if they can showcase their skills, I think that's what they're looking to do.
So we played in this game about 10 years ago. In your estimation, Matt, how far has the talent and the pure athletes grown since you played in the game?
Well, I think we see a lot more, and we're going to have a bunch of stats to give people today, but I think we're going to see stats that show that more and more players are getting drafted out of this game, so players that do participate get drafted. I think we just look at the level of coaching, the level of facilities, and as well as we're talking about CFL scouts, but we've seen across the years and the week where all of a sudden an NFL team's starting to show interest, and we see a lot more players migrating down south. So I think the attention is not only local in Canada, but I think we're getting exterior exposure to the big league where people would like to eventually play. But the showcase of talent, I think, is a great tribute to what the Canadian university football program has brought to the table.
And you mentioned the NFL, and I see a Laurent Duvernay-Tardif jersey right down there, Kansas City Chiefs. He's obviously from McGill University, has turned into a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman. With the Chiefs, we have Anthony Auclair, a Laval tight end, who's now with the Tampa Bay Bucks. David Onyemata from the University of Manitoba Bisons is with the New Orleans Saints. So that's the type of elite talent we're talking about that comes out of this game. And there are a number, as you touched on too, a big number of players that go out of this game from the CFL. So what you're going to see today, Matt, and you know this well, is a lot of players that are starting that journey in a key year for them as they enter their draft year.
Agreed, and I think you were probably the best positioned this week to maybe see that talent firsthand, and as you've thrown many footballs in your life, I think you'd like to see some of those receivers maybe on your past squads. What did you see this week, Justin, that you'd say, wow, these are standouts, these are remarkable points that we need to address?
Well, you were a former receiver, and you mentioned the receivers, and that's what stuck out to me in the testing. There were a lot of receivers that ran 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. That's hand-timed by the scouts, but we're talking about guys like Curly Gittens Jr., the OUA MVP from Laurier, Keon Julian Grant, a receiver from St. FX, running these fast times. And then on the east side, you have a guy like Alexander Savard, who is coming up in the mold of an Anthony Auclair, who people feel like could have a chance to play in the NFL. He's, of course, from the Laval Rougeau. So those were a few guys in the receiving corps that stuck out to me.
And they're heavyweights. You're talking about Savard, and I had people look smaller from where we're sitting, but when you actually get on the field, see them run, see them push, when you have a kind of slot back slot receiver that can push 26 times 2 plates, kind of brings perspective as, these testings, when you compare them to CFL caliber or NFL caliber, you got good potential for these kind of players. I don't think it's just about the testing, but it is the foot in the door kind of eye-opener. But today, I guess they're going to showcase what they've always wanted to do, is actually catching, running, and tackling on the football field.
For sure. That's sort of the athletic baseline, and then now you get to put all of the preparation from the week that is, and we've gone through it, Matt, that you get systems installed pretty quickly, and maybe the more key thing is getting used to some teammates that you've probably never played with and get ready to play a game in less than a week.
Because the fastest week is probably this week. You got to get to know people. You got to concentrate on yourself because you want to do good testing. It's not a normal, typical prep week for a camp. And then you got to, create synchronicity with your teammates to make sure that the quarterback, Justin, passes to Matt, and we're on the same page when we see coverage. So for offenses, I think it's a little more difficult to be able to communicate and gel. Hence the playbook that's a lot simplified than a normal season would be, making sure that we can showcase the talent versus trying to react, adapt, and do audibles on the line of scrimmage. And defensively, well, at the end of the day, if the ball is thrown and there's a deep route, then guess what? It's a jump ball, and both athletes have to go up at it. But we're going to look at linemen as well, and that's something that we don't tend to talk about most of the time because we follow the camera, we follow the ball, and we applaud the end zone catch. But today, there's some big men that we're going to be able to talk about that are going to do a good job in the trenches, both on the offensive line and defensive line. Who stuck out this week for you, Justin?
Well, we have to talk about offensive linemen if we're at Laval University, right? They've just become such a factory. And for me, Samuel Thomasin, 6'6", 341, carries that weight extremely well. And he's a guy that I think you really need to keep an eye on. And we're just going to go here to our national anthem and house and be right back with you.
Au Canada, terre de nos aïeux, ton furon est saint, de fleurons glorieux, car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
There's our national anthem, and we should get to the coaches who are leading these teams today. On the west side, Greg Marshall from the Western University Mustangs is a Vanier Cup champion head coach in 2017. They beat Laval down in Hamilton. He'll lead the West squad. The offensive coordinator for the West, Ryan Shane from the University of Calgary. The defensive coordinator, Dwayne Cameron from Laurier University in Waterloo. And then on the east side, we have Sheriff Nicholas from Bishop's University as the head bench boss, the offensive coordinator Gabriel Cousineau from Montreal, and the defensive coordinator Paul-Eddy Saint-Villain from Carleton. So quite the amount of coaches here and knowledge, Matt, with what's going on and how these systems have been put in this week. And, you know, it's not easy for the coaches either because they have to assess these players that, yes, they've maybe watched some film on and prepared for and gone against, but to really get them and put them into a scheme and plug them in where they fit is something that has to be done quickly for all these coaches.
Coaches want to showcase their talent, right? And at the end of the day, I think putting people in the right position, but also calling the right plays is probably the best angle that they need to address today, and that will evolve as the game evolves. And fourth quarter will probably be different than the first. But, hey, we got a great show in store for us today.
Dominic Levesque going to kick us off here for Laval. That's Trevel Pinto catching it just inside his 5-yard line. Burst to the outside, taken down just before he goes out of bounds. There is the West offense is coming out onto the field, led by UBC quarterback Michael O'Connor. Has a lot of pedigree behind him. There's been a lot of talk about him this week, Matt, and he is a guy that is already getting looked at by CFL and NFL scouts.
And, you know, at the size that he comes in at today, and I've talked about quarterbacks, and, you know, unfortunately it's not a short league anymore. And when O-linemen are at 6'5", you kind of need to have at least almost a 6'3" to 6', and guess what? He is at 6'5", 225. I think we have a decent-sized quarterback that, you know what, is relatively mobile for his size, and that's what I kind of like. Yes, there's pocket presence, but today I'd like to see him use his arms and as well his agility just to show that, you know, he's not just this one unidimensional quarterback. So I look forward to seeing his passing, but as well as a bit of running, right? I mean, we want to protect our quarterbacks, and I don't think UBC wants to see a quarterback go down in an all-star game, but I'd like to see maybe a bit of both for him today.
And we had too many men in the huddle there as we get set here. Now it's going to be 1st and 20 for the West offense. O'Connor behind center. Ace back, trips to the strong side. O'Connor hands it off to number 20 there. That would be Jeshurun Antwi from the University of Calgary. Gets up for a gain of a couple on the left side. And O'Connor, and I feel like we're going to be talking about him a lot while he's in there, but to me, he really seemed to grab this group early on in terms of a leadership role, Matt. On the first practice day on Tuesday, he stayed after practice and was going over routes with some of the players as well to really make sure he was on the same page as them.
And there's leadership, right? Because at the end of the day, he can only do as good as he's on the same page with. And so his running backs as well as the passing scheme, but his wide receivers needs to know what he's anticipating.
The second along for the West offense, O'Connor hands it off on the draw. Cedric Joseph up the middle, but he's going to come up well short of the first down. Gets about 9 on the draw play there as the West punt team comes onto the field.
And how penalties can be costly. And unfortunately, in the first game of the 2018 season as an all-star game with a week of preparation, it's a little normal that personnel ins and outs. So too many men in the huddle kind of cost maybe that first down of the game. But understandable. And at the end of the day, guess what? 2 good running plays that put them in relatively good position to at least punt the ball out of their zone.
And Brian Hope will do that from the University of St. Mary's. That's number 2, Keon Julian Grant from St. FX. We'll get to him a lot in this broadcast, I would imagine, but we have a couple flags on the play. See how those affect what's going to go down here.
So one of them was pre-snap, so I can't wait to hear the officials on this, and the other one was at the point of reception. So when the ball was caught by Julian Grant, I wonder if they offset, and we'll wait for the official call.
It seems to be about right. It's probably no yards on Julian Grant. Or sorry, after he caught the punt.
By the looks of the official, we're signaling no yards, and we're simply going to give the gain. Also offside, 5 yards up, and they're going to repeat third down.
Beautiful day here, though, isn't it? Probably perfect for football and offense.
And you know what Quebec City is known, and I'll maybe speak on that behalf, having played here as home turf back in the day. You don't know what to expect, and unfortunately, it's a good thing when you're playing here. You get to wake up here, but when you're the opposing team, you come into the Pep Stadium and you see the wind twirling around. It kind of adds this additional pressure to be able to perform and make sure that you have the wind at your back. But I think the players are doing just fine with that just to now.
Hope trying to deal with that wind, punting into it looks like, and that punt is fumbled away as the returner attempted to catch it, but there's going to be a no yards penalty on the play. So East is going to come out onto the field on offense with pretty good field position here.
Definitely, and I think that's what we're going to be looking for today. I mean, it helps the offensive playbook and the offensive coordinator when you're able to have a better field positioning to diversify and open up the playbook just a bit. And officials are confirming that no yards, so plus 15 yards on the play, which positions, Justin, the offense for the East for the first time in their first drive within already the West territory on the west side of the field.
And that was Calum Beaver who dropped that punt, but it won't matter. The East set up inside West territory with Brett Hunchak from York University at quarterback leading the East offense. He's got a little trouble with the football. Drops it, picks it back up, but that's number 29 coming off the backside on the tackle, Fraser Sopik, a guy that is known well in Ontario for being around the football, and sure enough, there he is.
And it's unfortunate because we see the motion which kind of draws out a bit of the defensive line, but that fumble and that stutter gives a chance for the defense to actually cover up and contain quarterback, and for the tackle, well, QB sack, tackle for loss, and unfortunately losing field position. So both offenses finding a bit of struggle here in the first opening drives, but understandable. Pre-game jitters, and now we're in the first drive, so hopefully things will settle.
A second along here, Hunchak in shotgun. Gabriel Paulin walks up to his left, the running back from Sherbrooke. He'll get out the ball to Chris Osikusi in the flat on the hitch route, taken down by 2 defenders there, Sopik and Malcolm Lee in on the tackle for the West squad.
Good choice. Quick 3-step drop back, quick release to the left side. And when we're aiming for receivers, Chris Osikusi, at the end of the day, it was an easy route, easy read, easy throw. It made it look easy at least. The open offensive line opened up. Easy catch and release. Unfortunately, we had lost yards on the tackle for loss and the QB sack prior, but nonetheless, we're giving confidence to our quarterbacks, get into a rhythm, and I think it's understandable that he wants to get his first catch in as quick as possible.
Dominic Levesque on to punt from Laval. Back to get it, Curly Gittins Jr., the OUA MVP from last season. Dangerous as a returner, was a U Sports All-Canadian as a receiver on the first team, and then a U Sports All-Canadian as a second-teamer as a returner, Matt LeBlanc. So dangerous with the ball in his hands.
And what a skill, because at the end of the day, if you can be a double threat for any scout, I think it's a high on the priority list, because if we can save, and I've said this once before, but if we can save salaries because you can do 2 jobs, hey, we're in the business of making sure we have the best athletes on the field, and I think it's a great attribute to him and his skills, and I look forward to see him evolve on the return team, but also on both on offense.
And Gittins Jr. splits out on the short side for the West team. O'Connor at quarterback hands it off. Cedric Joseph just off left guard there, but look who it is. Matthew Betts from Laval. He's going to be all over this game, I feel like, wreaking havoc in the backfield already.
And not only in his presence, but people underestimate maybe the speed of Matthew Betts until they actually set up in a 3-point stance against him. And at the end of the day, he will be able to chase you down if you stutter as a running back, and if you hesitate as a quarterback, he will not. And so there's a great example, as if he doesn't have contained responsibilities, he will chase the running back behind the line of scrimmage as he just did.
He drops Cedric Joseph for about a loss of 1. 2nd 11, O'Connor in shotgun. Joseph right behind him. Ace back formation. O'Connor across the middle. Hunter Carl on the crossing route trying to stiff arm. The defender does break free of that attempted tackle by Samuel Paulin from Sherbrooke, but it will be short of the first down, about 3rd and 4 coming up for the West, and Hope from St. Mary's comes back on to punt.
So quick plays, quick in and outs, and at the end of the day, I think it's, you know what, we're seeing passes, Justin, and passes being caught. Thus far, for what's been thrown has been caught, and I think it's going to just put both quarterbacks in a little more confidence zone, and we'll see deeper threats to come, I'm assuming.
I would imagine there's hope as he punts it away. Calum Beaver from the University of Ottawa hauls it in, finds a seam up the middle, cuts to the outside. Beaver with room, just a punter to beat. Can he get by him? No. Hope takes a great angle, but what a return by Beaver, who is a burner, was one of those receivers that ran very fast in the 40 and testing 4.4, 4.5 type speed, and he showed it right there.
And great initial stutter off to the right, but then bounces right back through the middle and off to the left sideline. Benefits from 3 great blocks, though. The wall kind of positioned itself great in the middle of the field, and then a pure question of speed, and the only man to stop him was able to stop him is Hope. But at the end of the day, great position for the offense for the East.
And Hunchak back out for the East offense in the shotgun. Paulin behind him. Ace back, handoff, right up the middle, just off right guard. Paulin crashing over the 15-yard line, down inside close to the 11-yard line. Solid gain on first down for the East.
Right up the gut, and as much as we're playing open offensive playbooks, I think it's nice to check in once in a while and let our O-linemen shine. And so we get up to the second level, block our both linebackers, inner and outer. So Sam Backer taken care of, and we're able to position ourselves right in the middle of the field, Justin, with a short second down.
Very short. Maybe a chance look to the end zone here. Hunchak, shotgun, turns. Nope, he's going to hand it to Paulin off left guard. That's an easy first down for the East team. It looks like this East offensive line starting to really push some people around in the middle.
If it looks good, go back to it. And I think Paulin was just eager to get the ball back and make sure that we complete that second down and short. And now we're in an even better position, close to the goalpost at maybe the give or take 6 or 7 yard line. And who knows, maybe a quick pass in the end zone, test our defensive backs just a little as they man up for a little more of a man coverage.
It's a Hunchak back again. 1st and goal. Ace back. Paulin just steps to his left. Quick throw. Fade toss, it looked like there, was going for Osi Kusi. A little bit of a miscommunication.
Yeah, and it depends on the read, right? It's a pre-snap read, and we read man coverage down to the left sideline, but unfortunately I don't think both were on the same page as to what both saw. But nonetheless, we opened it to open space. There's no real threat. We broke out to the quick out pattern, but unfortunately it was the 3-step fade that was thrown.
Hunchak back behind center, shotgun, 2nd and goal. He's got trips to the wide side of the field on the right. Paulin to his left. 2 receivers into the boundary. That's where he's looking. Keon, Julian Grant, corner route. Can't come up with it. Just a little bit overthrown. Almost a miraculous grab there from Julian Grant.
Nice route coverage, but nice route nonetheless as well. We could have leaned a little more inside and give us a bit more room for the quarterback to be able to put it in, but nonetheless, he put it in a spot that only a receiver could attempt to catch, and Julian Grant came really close. Coverage was good. We played tight with the sidelines, but nonetheless, there was a chance to make 6, and unfortunately, we're going to probably have to end up with a 3-point field goal.
Looks like it. Nick Stats, the DB from the University of Calgary, in on the tight coverage there, forcing that tough throw or making it tougher for Hunchak, and now Dominic Levesque from Laval will come on to try a short field goal from 19 yards out. Wind shouldn't be much of a factor here.
It shouldn't, and if there's one person that should be used to it, it's him being home field advantage.
And Levesque does indeed chip it through. So the East used some field position, Matt, to take a 3-0 lead.
Great return, right? Let's get back to the basics as to why we're in this position to be able to have an easy 3-point field goal put on the board. We start with a great return and then 2 good offensive runs, right? The offensive line was able to get that first down of the game, make sure that we get ourselves in better position and put a threat in the red zone. And we came up short with the 6, but at the end of the day, we want to leave with points, and I think that's a good motivator for the East team to leave with a couple of points on the board.
And now O'Connor and the West offense back out on the field. They won't return the kickoff, instead take the ball at the 35-yard line on the left hash. We have 3 receivers into the short side of the field. Empty backfield for O'Connor. Takes the shot, delivers the crossing route. Looks like we might have a roughing the passer in the backfield, but great catch there by 32, Jamal Lyles, for a short gain.
Great catch because the coverage was tight. We maybe gained a yard or so, but I think the penalty, Justin, will give benefit to roughing the passer and we'll get our additional yards as it will convert into a first down. So I think the referees have been passed maybe a little of communications as to we want to protect our quarterbacks, especially in a game like today. So I think pressure was good. It got to there, but I think we're going to play a little more conservative with regards to pressure on quarterbacks.
And O'Connor, actually, a couple of weeks ago, had his appendix out. They left him in there, took him out when it calmed down. So he felt good enough to go, and I wonder how that shot felt to the midsection for O'Connor, who has 2 receivers into the short side, 3 strong side. There he's looking strong, but has the ball actually taken away from Matthew Betts right out of O'Connor's hand. He's going to walk into the end zone, and Betts making a big-time play here in the first quarter off the edge.
Wow, great pressure from Matthew Betts, was able to contain the quarterback, and before he was able to throw the ball, rip it out of his hands. And so in this case, for O'Connor was not able to get rid of the ball, and Matthew, I think, was just in the right place at the right time and had the decent enough speed to get in the end zone and put up the first touchdown of the game. Defensive touchdown for the game.
He seems to so often be in the right spot at the right time. And how about that? Our first score of the game, after we talked about off the top maybe being a shootout from the offenses, comes on the defensive side of the ball. But it should be no surprise that Matthew Betts is in, wreaking havoc in the pocket and strolling into the end zone on his home field.
We say that defense wins championships, and I guess in all-star games we're going to have to start saying that defense also sells tickets, Justin, because that was probably one of the greatest pressures we could have had early in the game. As we see number 33 coming off, we have Lamar Foyle that's coming off with as a Toronto native with the pressure, and Matthew Betts, I guess in this case, was just, like I mentioned, the right place at the right time, was able to almost scoop and score, but I'll say rip out of his hands and score, and had his last 40-yard dash for 6 points.
Yeah, it didn't look like that ball hit the ground, and as you said, Lamar Foyle comes off the edge and created the hesitation, actually put the first hit on O'Connor. Then Betts comes in, cleans up. And how about the defensive end with the presence of mind with his hands, kind of looking like a receiver there?
You know what? I'm a little impressed, and Matthew showed great stats as well when he was running through his testing, and I think that's what impressed the scouts just as much. When you see a defensive end being able to run his shuttle in 4.12 and then his 40-yard dash in 4.76, you're kind of mixing up with a relative pressure kind of defensive end, and he's able to run. So at the end of the day, quarterbacks, it creates that little uncertainty, and anyone who can get in the backfield and know that you can have speed to catch up to a skilled player kind of puts an additional stress. So I think we're going to regroup and make sure that we give enough time for our quarterbacks to be able to pass the football for the West.
For sure. We've seen this East defense already create some pressure and get some hits early on O'Connor, and as I mentioned, he's coming off having his appendix out, so you have to wonder if he was a little anxious to get out there and maybe get popped for the first time. Looks just fine now, but this East defense already, and they're coached by defensive coordinator Paul-Eddy St. Valent, has really cranked up the pressure here early.
And Paul-Eddy is his last day was intern was with the Carabin of the University of Montreal, so he was with Danny Machocha back then and was able to benefit from his experience as a coach there before he crossed over to Carleton.
So Levesque with a big kickoff into the end zone. Travell Pinto fields it, stutters for a second, finds a little hole, jumps up over the 15-yard line. Ball's on the turf. Big pile up. We'll see who comes up with it. They're signaling West football, and fortunately for the West team, they hang on to the rock.
So some easy shuffling and a little dancing, but at the end of the day, no harm done. The West will keep the football, and considering where that return actually started, which is almost 5 yards into the end zone, it was a pretty decent return. We're talking about 20 yards, but unfortunately, with the drop ball and a little uncertainty, we're going to have to start all again, the West offense, within their 20-yard line.
And Dominic Levesque with the big kickoff. Looked like he had the wind behind him, and if you're Pinto, he did hesitate. He probably thought about taking a knee, giving up the single, which in this instance, based what happened on the return, would have been better. They would have had the ball at the 35-yard line, and once again, this West offense starts backed up against their own goal line.
But then again, Justin, if you were a return man in an East-West bowl game trying to showcase your talent, I'm not saying team does not come first. I'm just saying if you got the chance to maybe wine and dine and give a little juke here or there, I'm guessing that's maybe also what crossed his mind, which he may not have done on a regular season kind of return. But in this case, I kind of understand that, hey, if you get an extra rep, may as well try to do the best you can.
That's right, and Pinto, he sure has the ability to take it back. Doesn't matter where it's from on the field when he's touching the football as a receiver or returner. And we see O'Connor lead this offense back out here again. That has some explosive targets. Pinto is one of them. Curly Gittins Jr. we've touched on as well. A couple guys that can get vertical in a hurry and need to find a little bit of a comfort zone here on offense. O'Connor in the shotgun, 1st and 10 from the 17-yard line of the West. Up the middle, handoff goes to Jamal Lyles, gets about 1 or 2 off left guard there.
And so the defense of the East is put to the test again. Remember, they were the ones that just scored the first 6 points, or the first touchdown of the game by Matthew Betts, but they're right back on the field, right? So it's little rest for them, and I guess the greatest defenses in offense, but in this case, the one that put up the first 6 points was the East defense. So they're doing a good job after this little 2-yard play on the first down.
O'Connor in shotgun, 3 receivers to the strong side, 2 into the boundary, ace back set. Drops back, quick throw across the middle. That's Colton Hunchak, makes a couple moves and gets a big first down for the West. The first down of the game for the West squad.
Great north-south football. So a simple pass right down the gut, making sure that we had the high-low. We had a little check down with the running back, but we passed over his head to number 5, Colton Hunchak. And at the end of the day, it's his left-to-right move, north-south football, that was able to bring him past the first down marker, because he was all about yak on that catch. The catch was about 6 or 7 yards, but he had to go get the equivalent to get the first down, which he did. So great skills play after the catch.
Hunchak, a slippery receiver. O'Connor setting up shop, 1st and 10, left hash, flag flies as the ball is snapped. Looks like we're going to have procedure here, likely on the offensive line. The West could be moving back yet again.
East players seem to be signaling against the West offense.
O'Connor saying, just calm down, guys. Stay within ourselves. Had a few too many penalties here early on. We'll make it 1st and 15 for the West squad.
What's nice to see is both teams to have good communication nonetheless. We see players that are uncertain giving hand signals back and forth, so even in a short week, people are able to communicate different plays in different situations.
O'Connor takes a shotgun snap deep out to the wide side of the field, gets there easily. Jesse Walker with the catch. That'll be about a gain of 9 or 10 as they put themselves in a second and manageable situation. But look how easy O'Connor makes that throw looking. Matt, you know how tough that is. Strong side of the field, deep out route.
It is the furthest throw for a quarterback to make, right? And probably the riskiest at the same time, because if it's ever undercut, the DB has obviously the easiest line of sight to the ball and then to the end zone, because he is the last man standing. So at the end of the day, it's a hard throw to catch, but great arm to be able to get it out to the yard line where only the receiver can catch it.
So O'Connor here about 2nd and 6, drops back, forced out of the pocket to his left, room in front of him. Decides to take off, and he'll get to the stick for the first down. So there's some of that mobility that you talked about off the top of the broadcast, Matt, that O'Connor has if needed, although there is a flag down there on the far side of the field. We'll see if this keeps the first down alive or brings it back.
I think yards were gained, but I think Trevor Pinto will be maybe called for a late block. But all the while, I think it was a great block nonetheless at the top of your screen. You'll see him cracking back as you see the scramble from O'Connor going towards the sideline. And on number 22, Pinto comes in, kind of lays out a hit. I think the hit is clean, but I think the referees are going to try to keep this as clean as possible. So unfortunately, yards were maybe gained, but we're going to replay a first down with the penalty after losing those yards.
That's right. So after the first down was gained, the penalty was called. So it means the West goes back 15 yards, but it's 1st and 10, which is a key difference for the West offense. They don't have to try to go 2nd and 20 like it could have been in that situation. O'Connor back behind center, trips to the wide side. Snap is bobbled. O'Connor can't handle it. Lyles picks it up. He's got a little bit of room to the left side, but can't. Oh, he does turn the corner just a little bit to try to get back some of that lost yardage.
And so that's the difficulty maybe with the West thus far, is maybe a little error-bound offense. So little mistakes here and there, but unfortunately are costly, even though that they're coming out with positive yards or just about, because as we were able to turn the corner in the case of Jamal Lyles, not enough. And so we're obviously lost yards. It's 2 and almost 20 again, Justin. So we're moving backwards, unfortunately, for the West offense. But we see promising things because they are completing first downs. So it's only penalties that are driving them back.
So Lyles actually steps out of bounds before he turns the corner. As Matt said, it's about 2nd and 19 or 20. O'Connor shotgun, trips to the strong side where he looks initially, flush from the pocket again, but he can't get away. That's big number 92 from the east side. Vincent Desjardins coming up the middle and pulling O'Connor down for yet another sack for the East D-line.
Unfortunately, great pressure. I think the timing was nonetheless there, but great coverage. And oftentimes we don't give as much credit to DBs on sacks as we do to defensive linemen, but not having time to be able to throw the ball is one thing, but having the time, but having pressure come created by coverage is also a great plus. So great coverage by the defensive back of the East team, giving time for the D-line to get there, create the sack, and forcing probably either a kick or we're just going to concede the points.
It seems like this is what happens every time I come to the Laval, is that the defensive line takes over. Mathieu Betts has the touchdown. Now Desjardins up the middle for the sack, which is going to force a safety from the West squad, and that's going to essentially be 2 points. So the defense really piling up the points for the East side.
And field position, we mentioned it as being key. So they had one great return, was probably an offensively considered play. But after that, as you mentioned, defensive pressure, starting with the D-line, was fortunate enough to create enough havoc for O'Connor and not being able to complete his passes or even have the time to find his receivers downfield.
Yeah, the D-line really creating some pressure as the West squad fighting it a little bit here early, going backwards on offense. Need to flip this field position, I feel like, Matt.
Yeah, and sometimes I always ask Coach Glenn Constantine as a head coach here, what do you want pre-toss, right? And do you want the win or do you want the ball? Or he goes, we always want the win here in Laval. And so that hasn't changed, and I guess when you get to choose heads or tails, win is a big factor here, and momentum is really important. So if you can have short passing downs, running down and getting positive yards to get your first downs in, it's key. But let's avoid penalties, especially in a game like this.
So Hunchak behind center, 1st and 10 for the East. Quick throw outside, broken up by the defender. Great break on the football. That looks like it's number 23 from the West side, Polis Coco from Regina with the quick burst.
Quick break. Once again, very far pass down the right sideline. And unfortunately, for that, the ball was kind of taking its time. So the break for the receiver was done quickly and even quicker by the defensive back, and Coco was able to get that break. Luckily for the East, it was a knockdown and not an INT.
So we're still in the first quarter, about 2:20 to go. Hunchak on 2nd down and 10, flush from the pocket, out to his right, off the scramble, throws it out. 2 receivers in the area there for the East squad. Looked like a little bit of miscommunication as the East offense goes 2 and out, and the punt unit comes onto the field. A chance for the West, and the defense does their job there, flipping field position.
Yeah, you're talking about changing the momentum around, and we had great pressure. We're flushing quarterbacks out of the pocket, making them throw on the run, and I think you can talk to that effect, Justin, as it kind of complexifies and reduces the field in which you can play with. You can't go against the grain, so it's hard to throw against your body, so it's limited to a 2-man receiver squad there, and there was 3 defensive backs. So great job on coverage. And once again, we're forced with a punt, but this time for the East.
Dominic Levesque back to punt from the Rouge et Or. Shorter punt there, fielded by Jamal Lyles, who he can return to, a Canada West All-Star as a returner. And key there, Matt catches the ball in the air and draws a flag.
Right on, and at the end of the day could have let it bounce because there was traffic. The ball was kicked short. But as you can see on the replay, great hands, good concentration, and guess what? People will probably be backing up, right? No one wants to take the risk to be in that 5-yard halo. But at the end of the day, they're on the back pedal, so took advantage of that back pedal and was able to complete a couple of positive yards and benefits from the 15-yard penalty to cross the line. And is this the first time that we can mention it, Justin, that the West offense will be in the East territory for the first time this game in the first quarter?
It is. O'Connor at quarterback is going to like that. Now a chance to maybe open up the playbook a little bit, little breathing room, and you start on the east side of the field, 1st and 10, trips to the wide side, 2 receivers into the boundary, ace back set. O'Connor with time, surveys, doesn't see anything he likes, but then finds a receiver. That's Curly Gittens Jr. wide open on the hash mark there.
Great patience by Curlington Jr. because he ran the fade route, but unfortunately on the backside. So I don't think he was necessarily the first read, but great presence by O'Connor to bail out and roll out to his left and find him alone because we had deep man coverage. We had to cover 3 on this situation, but he was able to come back. And every receiver knows if you see a bailing quarterback trying to find a receiver, run back to him, make the catch. But great presence to keep his feet in bounds and make the yard markers go down the field.
1st and 10 for O'Connor, just inside the 30-yard line. Off play action. Curly Gittens on the corner route had a step, but that pass thrown just out of his reach. Looked like it could have been a big-time connection there. Yet again, just missed.
Just missed, and we had pressure, right? So nonetheless, defensive linemen are doing their job getting into O'Connor's face, which forces him maybe a little less time to be able to put a bit of touch on the ball, but threw it in open space. So when it's an open space, it's a good battle to the ball, and Gittens Jr. was almost able to get there and come back on his corner route. Fell short, so it'll be 2nd and 10.
2nd and 10 for O'Connor in shotgun. 3 receivers to the strong side. Again, 2 into the boundary. O'Connor drops, sets up the screen pass to Jeshron Antwi, but the East team rallies to the football. A couple of strong hits takes the Calgary running back down.
Solid hit there for a little minimal gain of 3 yards, but I think it was probably good for field position. So at the end of the day, we didn't want to take a big risk and have an interception. We want to make sure we have control of the ball, but we seemed on 3rd down that we're not taking out the kicking team. We want to be able to throw the ball to the end zone or at least get another 1st down.
Well, and this is what Greg Marshall is known for, especially in Ontario. He does not mind gambling and going for it on 3rd down. 3rd and 8 here. The West offense stays on the field.
Which might be the last play of the first quarter.
O'Connor drops a pass, sees Jeshron Antwi in the flat, gets it out to him, and he converts, gets across that stick and yard line for the 1st down. So the gamble pays off. Greg Marshall doing his thing, and Laval fans will know this well after they've had the battle with the Mustangs in the Vanier Cup, that he'll gamble on 3rd down, and it pays off here.
Definitely, and he's using his back in the backfield to add in the receiver core. And when it's tough, when you see a running back and a linebacker has to cover that matchup, I think we can always go to that kind of flat, backside flat out pattern because we do have leverage. The speed is mismatched, and in a 3rd down risky play, I think we're maybe covering more deep than the flats. Great conversion for Greg Marshall.
1st and 10 here. O'Connor drops to pass, sees Gittens Jr., tries to throw it behind. It actually got to Gittens Jr.'s hands. Might have been tipped there, but on the final play of the first quarter, we have a near touchdown, but it is 12-0 for the East squad. A lot of defensive points, 9 of them to be exact, and you could maybe even attribute the other 3 to the defense as well for field position.
Correct. Field position has been key thus far in the first half and in the first quarter. And right away in the end, we talked about momentum changing, and the momentum that changes that the West took advantage of field position, and they're knocking at the door for the first time. So it is key, Justin, as you mentioned, and we'll see how they can conclude maybe this drive into the end zone for the West.
And you get a look here at the type of talent that is in this game. A number of All-Canadians on both sides of the football. We've seen Curly Gittens Jr. there, who had a chance to catch the touchdown, just went through his hands. Travell Pinto, we've seen a little bit in the return game, the receiver returner out of UBC. Malcolm Lee has had a tackle already. He was a defensive all-star. Stavros Katsitanis is a guy that we're going to see fly around the field here, Matt. They call him the Bakersfield Bandit. He's from Bakersfield, California, has a pile of interceptions at the U Sports level, a guy to keep an eye on. And there's Kalon Julian Grant, a first-team All-Canadian receiver, ran a 4.37 hand-timed 40 in testing this week, has a great athleticism to him. And then, of course, we've got 2 Laval guys on there as well.
We keep talking about these 2 guys, but it's because they made plays. So it's not what they did in testing this week. We're already back on the field, and they have first quarter stats already in Vincent Desjardins and Matthew Betts. So they both have tackles for loss. They both have QB sacks. And Matthew Betts comes away with the biggest surprise, the only touchdown of the game thus far, as he ripped the ball out of O'Connor's hand and ran it down his best 40-yard dash to the end zone.
What a play that was, and it's the lone major, we say in Canadian football, of the game. The only touchdown this far in the game, scored by the defense and Mathieu Betts, who has been a headliner for the week. The French media always want to stay up on top of what Betts is doing. As you said, had a great testing week, but has shown he can transfer it onto the football field already here in one quarter of play. As we start the second quarter, 2nd and 10, O'Connor at quarterback, trips to the strong side. Ace back set, drops to pass. O'Connor looking for Gittins on the timing out route. Can't quite hold on to it.
No, kept his feet in bounds nonetheless, but it was extended, and I think once he hit the ground, the ball came free, so didn't have possession of the ball as he came down. But great attempt. It's a timing route. It's a very touchy route when we throw to the flat. But the attempt was there. The leverage was there. He had created a cushion on his break, but fell just a bit short. And I think for this time, Greg Marshall's maybe not going to risk it again and put up 3 on the board.
Get some points on the board, hopefully, for the East squad, is Brian Hope from St. Mary's, the Huskies kicker, going to try to put it up and through, and he does. The officials' hands go up. The West squad gets on the board thanks to that big play from O'Connor to Gittins late in the first quarter.
Right, and he used his legs. We've seen O'Connor use his legs. It was maybe my pregame comments as to see if he is in trouble, knowing that, unfortunately, the pocket won't be perfect. As much as the O-line is the first time working necessarily together in a game situation, can he break free? And I think it's a challenge for all quarterbacks, but has shown that. So he's able to find Gittins Jr. down the sideline, make a play with his feet, and then be able to throw and deliver a beautiful ball down the sideline to move the sticks, and ultimately, beginning of the second quarter, put him in a position to actually get 3 on the board.
It seems like O'Connor and Gittins Jr. have a bit of a relationship already, right? We've seen a number of targets go his way as we see a new quarterback into the game on the east side. Chris Merchant, the Vanier Cup MVP in the ball game. He hands off to the big burly back from the University of McGill for the east squad, pounding across the middle.
Great run right up the gut, and I think it's a great welcome to a new quarterback with Merchant as they go get their first 7 yards on this first carry of the second quarter for the East offense. And Merchant coming off a great season, a great run towards Vanier Cup. But I think he can bring that leadership to a team that maybe doesn't have any of that experience for last year, 2017 year, and maybe guide them with a bit of his transition towards the 2018 season.
Merchant 2nd and 4, quick pass out to the wide side, gets it out there pretty quickly, and that's Josh Henry from St. Mary's on the catch, makes a tackler miss, picks up the first down.
Great protection by the O-line, quick release. As you guys may have seen, Merchant's able to throw the ball before even the receiver has his breakdown done. So the receiver doesn't even know the ball's in the air yet, and so that's great confidence by a quarterback that's throwing his first balls in the game already today, but he's putting confidence in his receivers, knowing their depth on their routes. Great cut, great catch, and we're able to move the sticks once again.
So Merchant already with a first down on his initial drive of the 2018 East-West Bowl. Then he has a little flip pass to Alex Savard, who lowers the boom. If you're going to come strong, you better come strong on Savard. He knocks Evan Martin to the ground, the DB from Windsor. Savard is a specimen.
6'5", 242. So when you see the contact with this little flip reverse play, make sure that if you're a defensive back, you get leverage and you get low, because Savard is going to bring his speed and also his weight to that point of contact. Great run for him, turning the corner and making it a good 6-yard pickup.
It's a 2nd and 4, good situation for Merchant, and the East offense yet again has Quincy Williams, the McGill running back, to his right, trips to the strong side. Merchant slips around one pass rusher but cannot get by. Joe Reinhardt, the linebacker from Guelph, eventually helps him to the turf. Looked like Merchant slipped a little bit too.
Yeah, small slip up. It's unfortunate because he was able to stay on his feet with his left hand on the ground. But then again, risk management, right? At the end of the day, he's on all fours in his pocket. I think it was a safe thing to do after the slip and make sure just take the loss, protect the ball, make sure, because he was trying to get stripped by number 56 on the D-line, Job Reinhardt, which wasn't able. So great presence by him to conserve the ball, make sure that the East can punt with Levac towards the seemingly difficult win, because at the end of the day, I feel like the momentum is coming right to left instead of left to right for them today.
Really does seem like that as Levac punts it away. That's Curly Gittins Jr. hauling it in near his own goal line. He'll go back into the end zone. Got to be careful there. That could have been a safety, but he gets tackled around the 2-yard line as the East cover team does a good job of getting down there and circling Gittins.
So I guess I had to talk about it to see Levac do a great punt from from his 40, 45-yard line and then brings them back, and then great coverage. At the end of the day, I think we're trying to set up a wall on the west side, which unfortunately didn't work out, and we had to actually save games as there was a penalty on the play and at least get out of our end zone, as you mentioned, Justin. So it will be ball down for the West offense on the 2-yard line, on their own 2-yard line.
As we're just inside 12 minutes to go in the second quarter, 12-3, the East leads in a familiar position here for the West team in the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl as they're backed up against their goal line to start on offense, and that's Theo Landers, the University of Guelph quarterback, into the game for the second quarter for the West. 1st and 10 from his own end zone. Going to hand it off there up the middle. Pounding away is number 34, Jordan Lyons from McMaster University. Solid gain on first down as the West offense tries to get from out from under their end zone.
Yeah, longest rush thus far for the West offense, almost a 7.5, 8-yard run. And considering the field position they have, it's probably the safest way out of their end zone, giving them maybe a better opportunity to get a short pass in or a run. So diversifying the playbook and maybe giving defensive coordinators a little more difficulty with the next play.
So Landers in the shotgun. Lines behind him. Ace back set. 3 receivers to the strong side. Offense on the left hash. Quick throw. That was there. Landers had his target, but it was sailed over his head. Number 82, Kyle Mortgat from Regina, was wide open there in the flat. That would have been an easy conversion for a first down if Landers could have made the throw.
Yeah, timing route, and once again, it's tough, right? And you can maybe speak to that effect, Justin, but when we say you're going to play a quarter, you're going to play quarter number 2 and number 3, you don't start the game, you don't have the momentum out of the game. How do you think that kind of pairing works out for these guys, knowing that it's a 2-quarter game basically for both quarterbacks?
To me, I always felt like you needed those first couple throws just to get a feel of the football and being in the game, maybe take a hit to really get in there. As we see Hope kneel down there, takes the safety for the West squad. 2 more points will go on the board for the East. But as you said, Matt, I feel like as a quarterback, it just takes a couple plays, couple throws, that is, to get a feel.
And as we see, it was his first pass of the quarter and, in his case, of the game. So a little normal that maybe his pregame jitters are starting to get away, but unfortunately that pass was a little far, a little unintended, but nonetheless forcing to give up the 2 points in the end zone and bringing back the ball on the 35-yard line in the East territory for their next first down.
And that's probably a smart decision by the West squad, led by head coach Greg Marshall, to give up the 2, flip the field position, hope your defense can get a stop here and give you some of that back on offense. Yeah, 1st and 10, Merchant in shotgun, 3 receivers to the strong side, hands off. Running back goes up the middle, but we have a flag down on the play. Looks like it's going to be a holding call against the East offensive line. That was number 6, Keith Normanday, on the carry.
So great defensive pressure to be able to beat the offensive line to the step, be able to be in the backfield and actually tackle for loss. And when you're quick off the ball, what happens? Well, chances are you're surprising a lineman. If you're surprising a lineman, he doesn't want to look bad on film, so he's going to grab you and try to make sure that the referees don't see it. But in this case, referees were quick to see the hold, and so that speed was beneficial for the West. So great job on the defensive lineman to crack that offensive line relatively quick.
The West squad actually declines the penalty because they dropped Normandan for a loss of 1, so 2nd and 11, keep them in that long situation on 2nd down for Merchant and the East offense. 2 receivers to the short side, another ace back set, 2nd and 11, Merchant calling out the signals, in shotgun, drops to pass, looking to the short side of the field, has Keon Julian Grant on an out route, but just can't put the ball on target.
Great pressure, but had the time. So the pressure came late. Was looking for that quick out towards the sideline to reduce risk, but make sure that with the good. There you see it. Yeah, just a small touch, right, Justin? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a question of timing and synchronicity, but I think the pressure gets to these quarterbacks relatively quick and forcing them to maybe preemptively throw their balls a little too quickly. But nonetheless, we're going to be forced once again by Levesque to have another punt.
Cordelint on the coverage there for Regina. And as Matt said, Levesque on to punt for Laval. Knows this stadium and how the wind works well. Let's see if he gets off another good one. And that's a solid punt to the outside. Curly Gittins Jr. hauls it in, spins back to the wide side of the field, has a bit of a lane, cuts back against the grain in wide open spaces, just a punter to beat. He slows him down enough as the ball pops out at the end of the play. Leblanc does his job as Nick Stadnik hustles back to make the tackle on Gittins Jr.
What a great return. Decent kick, great return, and we can see that the momentum was done and curls back onto himself, but benefits from 3 major blocks. But I'll be honest, great footwork as he keeps his motor in motion. And as he does, bounces right back to the original side he wanted to run. And as he does, I think the ground caused the fumble, so the referees are going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But Curly Gittins Jr. gets a great return and great field position for the West offense.
So now we've seen both punters in the game save touchdowns. Hope and Leblanc on great returners. Calum Beaver broke the one early that set the East team up. Now Gittins Jr. gets some momentum back for the West squad. And as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, he was an All-Canadian as a returner on the second team, All-Canadian as a receiver on the first team. So when the ball is in his hands, explosive plays can happen as we see the offense set up 1st and 10. Theo Landers in the shotgun, 3 receivers to his left, the wide side of the field. Play action, bootleg to the short side, and he's looking for Nikola Kalinic, the big tight end, fullback type body. We're talking 6'5", 250, but throws it just over his head.
Yeah, didn't like what he saw, and he saw tight coverage. I think we just wanted to get rid of the ball as pressure was coming and squeezing him out of the pocket, making sure that he didn't lose ground or lose actually yards on the play. So got rid of the ball, safe play, 2nd and 10, so he can regroup. He's in good field position. If we just get 5 or 6 yards, Justin, we can be once again in field goal range again. So we'll wait to see, but I think we're gonna maybe go for the first and at least get field positioning.
2nd and 10, Landers back to pass. Quick ball there. Looked like a little bit of miscommunication. Again, that was Hunter Carl down the rail.
Once again, oftentimes when we see these miscues and miscommunications, sometimes it's a question of read, it's a question of coverage. But for quarterbacks, it's always the scariest thing when you see 2 helmets not looking you with the eyes coming back. And so he saw 2 behind of helmets, and so had to get rid of the ball as pressure was coming and forcing that pass out, unfortunately incomplete. Brings out West punting team once again.
So after the Gittins Jr. punt return that was so dazzling, he almost takes it back to the house. The West offense can't move the ball even a yard. They go 2 and out as Hope punts it away, looking to pin the East squad down tight to their goal line. The punt flies out of bounds around the – we'll see where the ref ends up here. Inside the 20-yard line at about the 17, the East will set up shop. So at least the Gittins Jr. return flips field position.
Correct, and field position is key, as we know, because both offenses are struggling a bit when they have a full field to actually run after. But thus far, we've seen that both, when they're within the 40-yard line of the opposing team, we're able to put points on the board. So safe calls by both head coaches to make sure that field position will be key and will remain to be key to make sure that we have put our offense in the best positions as possible.
Chris Merchant, the Western Mustangs quarterback, back out. 1st and 10 for the East squad. He's in the shotgun. Hands it off there. No, he doesn't. Little zone read, and Merchant will do this. As Laval fans know well, he'll take off and run. Scampers to the outside for a solid gain on 1st downs. Should set him up in about a 2nd and 3 situation. So really, since Merchant has come into the ball game, the East squad has been able to get some solid gains on 1st down.
Agreed, and he's done it mostly with his feet as well. Not necessarily running always the ball, but being an agile and mobile quarterback. When he decides to fake run and keep for pass, he's giving that option as a threat, and he's done it once again, going to get 8 yards on that 1st down.
So 2nd and 2, Merchant in the shotgun. Once again, ace back set. 2 receivers to the short side. Looks there, but then drops his eyes and comes down as the West D-line gets some pressure, and that's his teammate there, Jimmy Hawley, taking down Chris Merchant as we have teammate on teammate crime there.
And James Hawley will probably have a lovely ride back home with his quarterback to be able to discuss that. But as irony would have it, we separated quarterbacks this week, and so Merchant being the representative quarterback for the East team and has to deal with his defensive lineman teammate with that tackle. So unfortunately decided to keep the ball in the pocket and suffers the tackle for loss, a 1-yard loss.
And Leblanc back on the field to punt for the East squad. Gittins Jr. and Jamel Lyles back to return for the West squad. It's going to be Lyles catches it in the air around the 42-yard line, but takes a shot on the 45. Great coverage and tackle there by number 17, Nick Hallett, the defensive back from the University of Toronto.
Great presence, because we didn't look at the return man's feet. He looked at his belt line and was able to make that tackle. Has a contained responsibility, has run down the field. He's second man in presence, but is able to break his first defender and wrap in an open field tackle. So good job on the coverage.
Hallett limits the gain as Landers back out as the quarterback from the University of Guelph, leading the West offense 1st and 10. Just under 6.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. There's a burst up the middle from the West offense as they try to get the running game going with Cedric Joseph.
They have great presence on first down thus far. It's the second time where we run the ball. We actually go get close to 8 yards. In this case, once again, 8 yards. So the last one was merging on the rollout. This time is strictly by run. So we can say that the run game is working as an option. We're having a little difficulty passing the ball. Let's see what Coach Marshall decides to go on this play.
2nd and 2 really opens up the playbook as Landers back again in shotgun. We have 3 receivers to the strong side of the field, 2 backs in the backfield, but we're going to have a timeout here as Landers signals for it. Seemed like there was a little trouble getting the play call out to everybody, maybe some confusion as he'll come over and talk it over with offensive coordinator Ryan Sheehan from the University of Calgary. It is 14-3 for the East, 5:47 left to go in the second quarter in the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl from TELUS Stadium on the campus of Laval University in St. Foy. A perfect day for football. Wind swirling a little bit, as Matt mentioned, as it does in this stadium. Solid crowd on hand here, and they really love their football in this town, don't they, Matt?
They do. You know what? And I like to see youth coming out. We had the youth day yesterday where younger players in the community were able to come out and actually meet and greet the future hopefuls for the Canadian Football League. And I think that kind of gives and gains ground with momentum when players can actually reach out and give back to the communities, regardless of language, regardless of family origins. I think people just migrate to the field because it's a football time of year, and I think they appreciate that kind of passage from the East-West Bowl in Quebec City.
And there we have Landers back out after the timeout, hands it off to Cedric Joseph on 2nd and 2, sticking his helmet in. They're going to be close to see if they gain the yardage required for a first down.
We might give him on progression, but there was kind of this big defensive line pushing him back, so I can't wait to see what kind of forward progress the officials will end up deciding to give. But I think we had to get to the center, and the officials seemed to say first down for the West.
They're moving the sticks, setting them up with a fresh 1st and 10 for the West squad as Landers and the West offense look to put their first major of the day on the board, just getting into the East territory for now as they set up Landers in the shotgun. Cedric Joseph, the Western Mustangs, back behind him. 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Landers takes the snap, quick pass out in the flat to Hunter Carl on the hitch route.
And that's all you need on first down, a quick hitch route off to the right-hand side towards the sideline, get 5 yards, and give your offense a second and short. And so almost 6 yards on the small yak yard that he was able to get, but that little right-hand shiver was able to get him maybe that additional yard. And once again, it's an easier set of plays for an offensive coordinator when you are on the offense on your offensive side of the ball to be able to decide pass or run on a second and 4.
Landers set up now. As Matt said, 2nd and 4. Shotgun snap, looks to the strong side, over the middle, throws it high for Hunchak. Dangerous pass there, goes incomplete.
Risky pass for down and distance because at the end of the day, all we need was 5 yards. So we were going for a little deeper pass, but coverage was there. Most defenders did drop back. We dropped down all linebackers into coverage. So maybe a sideline pass in the flats would have been maybe an easier pass to convert, but the playbook remains, and Greg Marshall will go on 3rd and 4.
That's what Greg Marshall, the gambler, does. Yet again, they'll go for it from the 49-yard line of the East. Landers shotgun snap, looking to pass. Now he's going to be flushed out of the pocket, looking to run for that first down, and he'll get it, just scooting by the linebacker there that was giving chase, number 42, Gordon White from St. Francis Xavier University. Landers showing off that ability, dual threat ability, getting out of the pocket, picking up a first down.
So I'm guessing maybe that Landers knew that Greg Marshall was going on third, so he attempted a deeper pass, but decided to maybe redeem himself by keeping the ball in this case. And very, very interesting decision. Head for the sidelines, get the yards gain, and make sure that his offense stays on the field.
And he does just that. The down sticks move yet again. Fresh set, 1st and 10, right hash for the West offense. Landers, shotgun snap, zone read, pulls it. Landers going to keep it yet again, sees a little bit of space and a decent gain on 1st down for the West offense.
Quick yards, positive yards, and benefits from his 2 receivers that can convert into blockers right away. So once again, maybe it was the most conservative of plays to do, decides to keep the ball based on coverage, gets 5 yards, and once again, a short 2nd down.
2nd and about 5 upcoming for the West offense. Seem to be on the move here on this drive because of what Theo Landers, the quarterback from the University of Guelph, has done with his feet. 3 receivers to the strong side of the field, 2 into the boundary as Landers takes a shotgun snap, hands it off. Little draw play there. Looked like Joseph had a seam, didn't it?
I was seeing that probably in the red zone, if not the touchdown. And unfortunately got hooked up at the line of scrimmage, and I think it was just his heel or in a stutter step that he had. But as we see on the replay, great hesitation. So fake pass to give run. So it was almost like a draw play, but unfortunately D-lines were able to crack down and just hit his heel, which made him lose footage, and unfortunately limited gain of not even a yard.
But this is 3-down territory once again for head coach Greg Marshall, the gambler, going for it, 3rd and 5. He probably saw exactly what Matt just saw, that there was a lane there, and feels like his offense can pick up about 5 or 6 yards here on 3rd down and keep the chains moving. Landers will be in the shotgun again. 32 set, 3 receivers to the strong side of the field as we're getting just under 3 minutes to go here in the 2nd quarter. Landers takes a shotgun snap, bobbles it around, able to pick it up and try to run for the 1st down, but it won't be there. Kevin McGee, the Laval defender, there to keep contain and turn the ball back over to the East offense.
Great decision by Kevin McGee, who was in coverage, but right away saw the opportunity of breaking it down and had no other responsibilities but the QB. So spying on the quarterback does pay off in this case, and let's just be honest, sometimes when the fumble is unfortunately inevident, then you can just make sure you consolidate the losses, cover the football, and make sure that, in this case, the West doesn't have a better advantage of scooping and scoring. So in this case, the East will take their ball on the 42-yard line.
Matthew Betts didn't pick that one up and take it to the end zone, so the East offense will have to try to do that as we have a flag here as the East offense takes the field. Too many men in the huddle for the East offense, so they'll back it up. Going to be 1st and long situation for the East offense. Here as we have 2 minutes and 49 seconds left to go in the 2nd quarter. 2018 Valero East-West Bowl. I'm Justin Dunk with Matt LeBlanc, the 3-time Vanier Cup champion Laval Rouge or receiver. 3 times. I saw those rings. They're nice.
You know what? And we mentioned it earlier. It has nothing to do with the rings, but has a lot to do with the journey. And I'm happy to see that football is going well, and there's a bunch of fan here, but the athletes have gotten better. And you know what? I'm happy I'm sitting here, not on the field today.
I would say the same as we see flags fly on 1st and 20. Merchant handed it off there in a big pile. Not much of a gain here. We'll see what the penalty is. I'm going to guess it was offside.
I think so, too, and they're really quick. Officials are not really going to consult on this. They're moving offside to the west, pointing towards the west. They want to know if head coach Sharif Nicolau wants to accept the penalty, and obviously he will accept.
And indeed, that's the penalty, so that will make it 1st and 15 for the East squad. Merchant at quarterback with Gabriel Paulin, the big physical running back from Sherbrooke, behind him here as they pick up some yardage on the penalty from the West defense. Merchant with 3 receivers to his left, 2 to his right, looking for the corner route. Chris Osikusi, ball thrown behind him, jumps up but can't get a handle on it as he falls out of bounds.
Ball took a bit of time to come, and knowing that the sideline was coming, they had to kind of slow down their route running and make it a jump ball, but decent coverage on the west side by number 35, Cordelet Delenti. which forces them a second and long once again, Justin, and unfortunately probably a deeper pass to be able to convert on this second down.
Delint with the tight coverage there. He's had that a couple times here early in this game. Second down and 15 for Merchant and the East offense. 3 receivers to the strong side, which is where Merchant is looking across the middle. That could be close to a first down as the big receiver, Josh Henry from St. Mary's, goes up and gets it. It's going to be very close here to a first down.
Great route. I think the ball brought him back towards a little more the line of scrimmage, so he lost maybe the depth that he had in making it a 3-and-1. But I'd love to see a quarterback throw a middle ball, throw a ball into coverage over the secondary, just in front of the defensive back, and great presence to be able to catch and drop and make sure that the yards were gained, but we're going on in third down.
So Merchant is used to this from playing at Western University, going for it. Third and less than 1. Hands to the big running back, Paulin, off the left side with some room. A flag flies there. Could be holding on the outside block there as Paulin gets enough for the first down, but we'll find out what this penalty is.
So great outside run, squeezed down the line of scrimmage, and we're able to get outside. It might be a holding call, but I think yards were gained, so we'll see how the officials seem to. We're backing the East offense up, but I think will be yards were gained, so it'll be first down with a 5-yard loss.
That's indeed the case. Matt is on point with that. It's going to be 1st and 10, so the holding penalty comes after the first down. Yards were gained, so Merchant and the offense get a fresh set of down. 1st and 10 from their own 45-yard line. 2 receivers into the short side, 3 to the strong side. Familiar 32 ace back set. Paulin behind Merchant as he calls out the signals. Merchant drops to pass, crossing route. Chris Osikusi catches it, gets up over midfield for a first down. Easy pitch, catch, and run there to move the sticks.
And Merchant can say thank you to Osikusi, and Osikusi could say thank you to Merchant because both were on the same page. Speed was never reduced to catch this football, and so out-leveraged on speed, was able to create a cushion and turn the corner. In zone coverage, toughest thing to do because you are running into traffic. But use that momentum crossing the field, slept under coverage, and was able to turn the corner and convert for the first down.
So as we get under 2 minutes in this first half, about 1:40 left on the second quarter clock, we're going to have a timeout here from the East offense just after they pick up that big first down from Osikusi, showing off that 4.5 speed that he ran in testing on Tuesday, and we've talked about it throughout the broadcast with Matthew Betts in particular. Translating that testing onto the field is so key for these athletes, and we see it there with Osikusi picking up the first down using his speed. And once again, we're going to have another too many men in the huddle penalty. That's 3 on the day, so we're going to back the East offense up, make it 2nd and 20 after that play to Osikusi.
And it's unfortunate because we've seen great offensive plays come back simply based on, unfortunately, we'll say miscues in a beginning or a preseason kind of game as an all-star game can be, and unfortunately those penalties have been costly today.
Merchant back behind center, 1st and 20, turns and hands to Paulin. Great tackle there, downhill, coming fast and strong is Lotora Freccia from Waterloo, the DB, making a sure tackle there, but another flag down on the play.
So great open field tackle by Freccia, 6 foot, 200 pounds. You got to come ready against Paulin. At the end of the day, that was probably a big matchup to take down, and does it very well.
We're going back again here for the East offense. 2nd and a country mile, some would say. 2nd into Quebec City, maybe.
You know what? I'll let you do the math because there's too many hash marks to be able to count. But I think we're not going the right direction. And 2nd in, we're going to say almost 35, 40 yards. We're putting ourselves in a position that obviously we're going to probably end up punting the football, but there's only 1:33 left to go in the half. So let's try to make just a good conceded and consolidated play to make sure that we can get some positive yards to give Levac a good chance to kick.
Merchant behind center, 32 set draw play to Paulin up the middle. Little bit of room there as he crashes over the 40-yard line. Get some yardage back there, and you know what the West would have been thinking, get a stop, get the ball back to our offense in some decent field position, and that's exactly what they were able to do.
And you're giving Levac a better opportunity to kick his football, right? When he's have his feet on his 25-yard line, we're in a better position than had he been on his 10, and the wind becomes a bigger factor, reducing the angle in which he can kick. But Paulin is great. I think Paulin is probably one of the good running backs showing positive yards today, and it was a great draw play to give him the opportunity to give the O-line time to stretch and reach the second level of linebackers, go get 10 yards on that run. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, with the mile to go on second down, it was almost impossible to ambitiously hope that he was going to be able to convert the draw for a first down.
Long way to go it was, and that leaves a third and long situation where Levesque will come back out onto the field to punt, and who is back but Curly Gittens Jr., the Laurier University OUA MVP from last season, with Jabel Lyles, who knows a thing or two about returning as well, Canada West All-Star in that department in 2017. A couple of dangerous returners back here to catch the Levesque punt. Boot comes a little bit off the side of his foot. Solid hang time. Gittens Jr. hauls it in. Looking for a seam on the short side. He jukes around Levesque, but the cover team is surrounding him and takes him down after another good punt return from Gittens Jr. You see the acceleration.
When you can do something with nothing, I always think it's incredible. And I think Gittens Jr. had, unfortunately, not all the playroom that he would have liked to have, because there was a little more hang time, giving time for the coverage team to get down there. Yards were respected, but blockers and tacklers came quick, so he was able to find that small little breach in the coverage and make sure to get positive yards, bringing the ball close to midfield.
And Landers and the West offense get set up 1st and 10 on their own 54-yard line. 1:12 left on the clock. Need to go hurry up offense here as they try to get the quick throw to Pinto, but it skips on the turf.
Great play idea. So fake run to pass, and it's a little snip-snap screen to the receiver on the short side. But they kind of necessitate great synchronicity, and unfortunately there was a little hop, skip, and a great attempt for Pinto to catch the ball, but unfortunately fell a little short, and so we kind of trapped it more than anything else, and unfortunately it goes down as a very little gain.
Now it looked like Pinto got away with one for a couple of yards there. That screen pass looked like it was set up for bigger yardage, but nonetheless, 2nd and 8, Landers back to pass out of the shotgun across the middle to big Nikola Kalinic, the massive receiver across the middle, fighting for that first down yardage. He's going to be very close here, and with Greg Marshall being the West head coach, that they're going to be going for it. 42 seconds left in the second quarter.
And I think the officials have decided that they're going to side with Greg Marshall and just give him the first down right away. And to give you guys an idea, for those that don't know, the size and weight of Nikola Kalinic is 6'6", 245. So when that kind of receiver, tight end / big man on campus catches the football, it takes a couple of guys to bring him down.
It does. Landers, quick timing out throw on the money to Pinto, right at the marker. Looks like he should have enough for the first down on that out route.
Great 2-minute offense drill. We're going right away to the sidelines. We're picking out coverage that's maybe a little softer than it would be simply to not get beat deep, but we're taking advantage of easy yards. So that was an easy 10-yard catch and play for the West offense, and we're putting ourselves in great position to maybe soon attack the end zone right away with 26 seconds on the clock.
That's right. 26 seconds left in the second quarter as the West team trying to execute the hurry-up offense, looking to get a shot at the end zone. Landers back to pass. Jesse Walker on the corner route. He dives for it. It goes just off his fingertips. That could have been a big-time miraculous catch.
What a pass and what patience. Landers puts the ball way out there where only his receiver can catch it, and it would have been a big-time play. Would have maybe had trouble keeping his toes in bounds, but wow. Great timing on the run, route, and pass for the West offense.
20 seconds left in the second quarter, 2nd and 10. Landers maybe thinking get another first down here and have a couple shots at the end zone. He's in the shotgun formation, 32 set, ace back behind him. Landers drops to pass, flush from the pocket, down the middle. He slides for about what looks like a gain of 9. It's going to be 3rd and 1, 13 seconds left on the clock. West team needs to pick up the pace.
Time will be running unless we have a timeout, but we're not giving the first down yardage. Great decision to keep the football, put it in the middle of the field, so worst comes to worst, we do have field goal positioning with 13 seconds left on the clock. But once again, Coach Marshall seems to be the let's go for the end zone, guys, before the half kind of coach and kind of decision. So here we are.
Bit of a sugar huddle there, 3rd and 2, clock running, 5, 4, 3. This is going to be the last play of the half. Landers back to pass, flush from the pocket, looking for a receiver to get to the end zone. Colton Hunchak is there. Looked like he had it, but the ball pops out at the last second, the last play of the half. Oh, so close for Hunchak in the West, looking for an end zone shot.
Great attempt by Hunchak, great pass. So we had great patience by a quarterback. Goes deep, way deep, and Hunchak is there. I think he touches, I think he grabs, but I think the contact with the defensive back, number 15, François Hamel, kind of locks the ball away. Contact with the ground, passing complete, but what a great way to finish the half.
Great job by Amel to fight to the finish there. Ensures no touchdown on the board. So at the half, it is 14-3 for the East squad, and they really have been able to dominate with their defense, as Matthew Betts had the touchdown, and they forced a couple of safeties as well. We see the West with the field goal on the board, but nonetheless, that East defense has really come to play.
Momentum is picking up, and I think after first quarter jitters, I think we're going to have a great second half of football. I think both quarterbacks and all 4 quarterbacks at that were able to play some better football as the game progressed, so I can't wait to see what the second half provides.
We'll see some adjustments, I'm sure, will be made by Sheriff Nicholas and Greg Marshall at halftime, and we'll be back with you in about 20 minutes.
I think for youth sport athletes to get an experience to see this, the speed of the game is a lot quicker here. Overall, it can only enhance the development of our student athletes playing in these games.
It's really a good stepping stone for the younger ones on the team to get more experience, and especially for us older ones too, just to be able to even take more away from this, gain more experience from every competition that we have, and use it to move forward.
Une expérience incroyable. Ça a longtemps été un objectif pour moi de venir ici, puis ça a été à la hauteur de mes attentes.
On représente non seulement le Canada, on représente notre université aussi. Alors, je suis contente de pouvoir le faire.
This games experience is amazing. It's huge. There's thousands of athletes in the village, and I can't stress enough how similar this is to Rio. It's just a mini Olympics, and so athletes going through this, it's such a gift, because when you arrive at the Olympics or something like that, when I got there I was shell-shocked. Everything was big and huge and crazy, but to go through this first would have been so invaluable.
To compete at a games anytime for any athlete is a really big deal.
I love my country, and to be able to wear it, just run with a huge crowd and the support of them back home, it means so much.
community of it all.
Passion.
Privilege, for sure.
I would say interdependent.
I love youth sports.
I love youth sports.
Queens they have a lot of school spirit.
I've been really happy to, form some deep relationships, not only with players on my own team, but players on other teams as well.
I think youth sports is great because they they permit to us to combine school and study together.
This legacy that our coaches built at York, it's fantastic.
We're the team that has the most national championships in football in Canada.
At UNB, we get a pretty good fan base.
Amazing or love, one of the two.
Exhilarating.
I think I would use the word purpose.
Every time we set out foot on the ice is always competition and trying to make each other better.
I love U Sports.
I love U Sports.
It's a high level of competition.
Not everyone gets the chance to play at such a high level.
Play with guys who are not just teammates, but brothers.
It's a huge honor and it's very rewarding.
You rely on your team completely in all aspects of the game, and everything you do depends on what they do.
To be able to play at St. FX where the program is just amazing, it just, it fills me with joy that I'm able to do that.
Being able to represent them at different meets and being a part of the team is such a big part of my experience at Queen's.
It's the national championship every year. That's what you aim for, and as a competitor, it's pretty fun to be a part of this.
I have like 3 words, but it's like, for me, it's the best thing I never had. It's like thankful for me.
I love U Sports.
I love U Sports.
I love U Sports.
Back just before the start of the third quarter at the 2018 Valero U Sports East-West Bowl on the campus of Laval University. I'm Justin Dunk, your play-by-play man, alongside Matt Leblanc, the three-time Vanier Cup champion, former Laval Rouge or receiver. 14-3 at the half, Matt, and a big reason why there's a lot of attention on this game is because so many of these players end up playing in the pro leagues, and as you see on the screen right now, there were 41 players that were either invited or actually played in the game last year when it was held at the same spot at TELUS Stadium. And there are only 69 players drafted, Matt. That is an extremely high number.
And knowing that some do come from the NCAA, knowing that, there's the oddballs that aren't in the CIS kind of ranks, it's, I think, and I don't know, we tried to find the stats on that, but I think it's one of the highest ever recruiting groups that have ever participated that came out of the East-West Bowl. So when we say it is kind of a trampoline towards the higher and bigger ranks of actually playing pro sports, the East-West Bowl game is probably one of the greatest windows and showcases that they can actually prove that their talents are worthy of the pros. And I think the scouts enjoy it. I know some, and we've said this in the past, some do leave when game time comes because they will get the film and they'll be able to look at all the plays play-by-play and from a bus, train, or whatever kind of transportation they're in when they travel back. But they do like to see them up close and seeing the drills, seeing the attitude of the guys and the way that they take about their business. And I think they get to spend time in the meeting rooms as well, because let's be honest, we know that football at this level is a lot mental, and seeing how guys actually conceptually see the game and visualize it. So this part is maybe the end-all of be-all of what a great week was, but they like to see that prep for the first 5-6 days of the week as well.
Certainly. There were scouts here from every CFL team for at least some part of the week based on their schedule and how long the scouts were actually here. The Ticats have a bunch of scouts still here for the game. So as you said, Matt, seeing it live, and they can always watch the game film when they get back to the office, right? But you touched on it a little bit. The scouts want to see what you can't see on film, how the players interact with each other, how they treat their new teammates, who emerges as leaders among the group of the most talented football players in the country. And yes, there was 41 players directly tied to this game drafted, but 56 overall from U Sports were drafted this year into the CFL out of 69 picks. That leaves only 13 other players. So when we're talking about the stars of the future and seeing them today, this is the game that has the most of them, and a lot of them are coming from U Sports football.
And I think you spoke to that effect earlier in the broadcast, Justin. You were mentioning as to, how has the game changed? How has it evolved? Well, one, in numbers, because there's more and more numbers of people that are respected coming from these ranks, knowing how they're coached, knowing how they evolve, but also the players that are in the CFL, that are actually representing U Sports as being the league in which they came from and the league that brought them to where they're evolving today as players. And I think that kind of feedback is always great for coaches. And it's also great for the league. And I think having the support of the CFL here this week, but having the athletes on the field presenting that they're worth their time is even more special.
It really is, as Hope kicks us off to start the third quarter. That's Calum Beaver, the dangerous Ottawa returner, hauls it in for the East team and brings it out across the 25-yard line, and we see the first half stats. Obviously, what matters most is on the scoreboard, 14-3, but what jumps out to you, Matt?
Well, what jumps out to me is it's not on the scoreboard. We talked about penalties, and I'm just going to make a little blimp about it, but unfortunately it kind of kicked a bit of the stats. I think we had a great momentum shift, and I think those penalties were easy mistakes that we had in the first quarter, but the second quarter brought about all the stats that we have, because the first quarter, I could almost say there was donuts on the board. So now all those stats we could say is live second quarter kind of action that we're able to benefit from, and we're looking forward to seeing as much productive second and third quarter as the game progresses.
And there we see Quincy Williams off the left side, the McGill running back, with a nice gain on first down of about 6. 2nd and 4 for the East offense. And what really jumped out to me among the first half stats was obviously that turnover and how big it was, because that was Matthew Betts jumping on the ball, actually didn't even let it touch the ground and took it for a touchdown.
Correct, and we can also mention that O'Connor was 7 for 11 for 75 yards in his 1 quarter of presence on the field, so those are great stats for 1 quarter of play.
2nd and 4, Hunchak back to pass, gets it out quickly to Chris Osikusi on the hitch route. Looks like it'll be a first down for the East.
So right away putting the ball back in our playmakers' hands, and Osikusi makes an easy catch and converts for the first down, an easy hitch route off to the right-hand sideline. Good coverage, but was able to keep that ball in and secure it for a first down.
And Malcolm Lee on the coverage there, the talented long defender from UBC, but unable to knock the ball out. Osikusi hangs on. It's 1st and 10. Hunchak with a couple of backs in the backfield. The handoff goes to Keon Julian Grant. Lucky enough, he's able to pounce back on the football with Robbie Smith, the Laurier defensive end, all over him.
Caught by surprise. I don't even think the eyes were on the ball. I think he was just looking downfield. Ball was in the numbers, but I think he wasn't expecting it. But great presence and good football sense to be able to catch that ball after the ball was dropped and make it simply 2nd and 10 instead of, unfortunately, fumble for loss.
It didn't look like Keon Julian Grant, the receiver from St. FX, first-team All-Canadian last year, was ready for that football when Hunchak flipped it to him. We saw them run that play earlier with Savard, just trying to get the ball in playmakers' hands as we look at 2nd and 10 here for Hunchak. Takes a shotgun snap across the middle. That's Keon Julian Grant on the crossing route, but is tackled down. Sure tackle there by Malcolm Lee, the brother of former BC Lions first-round draft pick Jamal Lee, and who played for the Bishops Gators. Lee, an athletic defensive back. Sure tackle there.
Great tackle, great open field tackle, and guess what? We gave him progress on the catch. So Keon Julian Grant does get granted the 7-yard catch, but unfortunately for the East, that comes up short about 3 yards. So forcing Dominic Levesque to be able to kick off and punt once again with the 3 yards short on this 3rd down.
And there we see the athleticism on your screen right now. Check this out. Of Keon Julian Grant, was an all-around star no matter what he played. And look at that, dunking on guys in his high school basketball days at St. Michael's College in Toronto. That's the type of athleticism that is in the East-West Bowl these days, as we see Lyles out across making moves towards midfield. Speaking of athleticism, Lyles showing I deserve some of that spotlight too.
Great return, and we're talking north-south football. We're going right up the gut, and there's no real dancing. We do have a flag on the play, but nonetheless, good kick by Levesque. But once again, even greater return. No hesitation, benefits from a couple of blocks, and then north-south football with the return. So good job on the little hesitation, breaks a tackle or two, protects his football, and gives the West great field possession. But unfortunately, Justin, penalties do drag us down, and we're going to bring this one back.
And you're right. Unfortunately, it's been a bit of a theme. The key for Lyles has been on the returns today, that he's caught the footballs in the air and really given himself either an opportunity for more space to be dangerous as a returner or draw the no yards flags. But there's a holding penalty on the return that's going to bring back that dazzling play as the West offense, and this is becoming a theme too, is once again backed up against their own goal line.
So the West offense didn't have the easiest of times in the first quarter being backed up. We'll see how they can get out of it this time.
Landers in at quarterback for the 3rd quarter for the West squad. Turns and hands. Jeshron Antwi gets the outside, cuts back in, and might have enough for 1st down yardage there. The talented dual sport athlete himself, Antwi, played basketball and football in high school until he focused on football. Gets over there for a 1st down to the outside.
Great run from Antwi off the right-hand side. So great zone play. We're able to reach the outside corner on the weak side and turn it up for a good 10-yard gain, giving them a little more breathing room offensively for the West.
Key play there for the West squad to get some room as Landers at quarterback, 31 set. Curly Gittins, the lone receiver, to the short side. Landers is going to keep it. We saw him do this a little bit at the end of the first half. Scampers out of bounds. That will be a gain of close to 10 and might move the sticks yet again, depending on the spot.
Right on, back-to-back 1st down. So great presence to keep the football. He still had 2 down receivers, so one on the flag route running that straight-up fade, and a fullback coming out into the flat, but decided to use him as a second blocker and was able to convert himself for the 1st down.
They do indeed move the chains. 1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. 3 receivers to the strong side. 2 backs in the backfield for Landers. Turns and hands it to Antwi, trying to find a seam up the middle, but there is nothing there, as once again this East D-line seems to continue pushing and making some progress in terms of getting into that West backfield.
Yeah, Matthew Betts once again on the tackles, able to squeeze in and make the play. And I think he was accompanied by number 92 as well, Vincent Desjardins. So both Laval teammates were able to make that play, squeeze out the offensive line, and beat him to the hole. So for a tackle for loss. So we're going to be at a 2nd and 11, Justin, on this play.
That's right. Betts pushed them back for a loss. Landers looking at second and long situation. 32 set, 3 receivers strong. Landers quarterback draw, looking for some blockers up the middle, slides down, and he's helped to the ground too by Francois Hamel from Montreal.
Good decision, design play from the get-go. We have the QB draw. As we can see, O-line get up to the second level, but good reaction by Hamel as a deep defender was able to squeeze up, slide underneath the O-line and make a tackle and limit to simply a 6-yard gain on the play.
Well, and interesting here is we see Greg Marshall go for it yet again, but in his own territory this time. This is the biggest gamble of the day in terms of field position from where the West squad is going to go for it on third down and about 4. Landers in the shotgun, 32 set, ace back, drops to pass across the middle, has Hunter Carl, easily picks up the first down on the crossing route.
Hunter Carl did the greatest thing possible, is freeze in the middle space, look for the first down, see where it's at, and go up north-south football and get maybe 6 or 7 additional yak yards after the catch and convert, and giving the West, and let's say it, a lot more breathing room as they started their drive on the 4-yard line. So great crossing route to put them in position, but once again, the gamble pays off for Coach Greg Marshall.
Matt said it, West on the move, 1st and 10 at their 47-yard line. Landers once again in the shotgun, 2 backs in the backfield. 31 set. Curly Gittins, the lone receiver on the right-hand side of the field, but it's whistled dead. Looks like it's going to be a time count violation against Landers in the West offense.
So a little too much time, I believe, in the huddle before putting the ball into play, and maybe a little normal because we seem to have some miscues or the play was a little long in coming into the huddle. But a lot better penalty than the holdings and the roughings that we've had in the first half, first quarter. So at least field position still remains something comfortable, but backs them up nonetheless to the 42-yard line.
And the too many men, too. The too many men penalties were 10 yards. That's only 5. So 1st and 15. Landers looks at for the West squad as the University of Guelph pivot, calling out the signals. 3 receivers to his right, 2 to the left. Ace back set. That's Jeshron Antwi. Fakes the handoff. Landers makes a defender miss and then gets it out into the flats. Colton Hunchek, but he's standing out of bounds when he makes the catch, so that will not go down as a completion.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hunchek, had a little step back towards the ball, and as he caught it, his feet were both out of bounds, but great presence in the backfield. Start again. Landers was able to make first defender miss. Great sideline pass, but unfortunately we were out of bounds on the inbound, so he was closer to the bench of his West teammates than to the field. So unfortunately, pass was incomplete from the get-go. But I like the footwork we're seeing from the quarterback. Landers was able to get out of the pocket, find a receiver, and although out of bounds, great play for West. Unfortunately, we're going to have to restart on a 2nd and 15.
A little break in the action here is Gregoire Bouchard, the big 6'2", 314-pound Western Mustangs offensive lineman, being helped off the field. Looks like it's nothing major there. Hopefully he can come back into the game as the West squad looks at 2nd and 15 here. And you mentioned it, Matt, Landers with the ability to get away from number 91, Fred Robitaille there, save a sack and some more lost yards for the West as they look at another, it seems like, 2nd and long situation. 3 receivers to the right, 2 into the boundary. Jeshron Antwi, the running back, behind Landers in the ace back set for 2nd and 15. Landers drops to pass, immediately flushed from the pocket by Robitaille, gets out and scampers just for a couple there as there's another flag down on the play.
And this one goes all the way back to the backfield where the scramble began. So I'm wondering if we have a holding call, and I think we're going to decline. Yes, if we look at the officials where we're signaling holding, and it will be declined. So unfortunately for Landers, who seemed to be tripped up a little by himself for the turf, we'll see his play canceled out. The penalty will be declined by the East, and we'll be forcing once again the West to punt.
So a gain of just a couple by Landers there on the quarterback rush. Brian Hope, the St. Mary's Huskies kicker, back on to punt the ball away. There is 8 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock in the third quarter. It's 14-3 for the East squad over the West as he gets off a nice punt, and that is hauled in there by number 1 for the East, but a swarm of West tacklers pull Samuel Paulin down to the ground.
And we'd have to double-check the stats, Justin, but I don't think we've kicked too many times, or we haven't punted too many times on the west side of the ball, going down many times with Coach Greg Marshall and his decisions. And the risks have paid off on third down, but this case decided to go punt the football and prove that his coverage team can also do the job. And so we're able to circle Sam Paulin, the return man from Sherbrooke, and limit his returns to maybe a yard, but leaving the East offense within their 10-yard line at give or take the 7 to start off this drive.
Great punt by Hope there. Really boomed it and kept it relatively cornered in so his cover team could get down there and limit Paulin's gain, as the East offense is going to start at about their 7-yard line. So they're backed up. They're going to get a chance to see what it feels like with what the West has been dealing with all day.
So a little taste, and maybe field possession and field positioning will come into the West's favor, but here we go again.
Brett Hunchak takes the snap, hands it off to Quincy Williams, who's dropped quickly in the backfield. That looks like it's big number 76 for the West on the tackle, bursting through for a loss on the play.
So I guess it motivates just a little more the D linemen. We can see the red zone and the end zone in the line of sight, and so I guess they're a little quicker off their step, and they were able to seemingly pass the offensive line, sneak in and make a tackle for loss, so giving them a 2-11 for the East offense.
Brett Hunchak at quarterback. He's out of York University, calling the signal. 2nd 11, drops to pass, timing out route, looking for Keon Julian Grant, but just off target there is the throw to the St. FX receiver, as the East team will have a decision to make, take the safety or try to punt it away.
And knowing a bit of Sheriff Nicolas, I'm guessing and I'm assuming maybe we'll give the points simply with the lead. We can push back because the Landers and his West offense seem to be doing a good job with ball possession, time of possession, and actually bringing up the football. So I guess we're going to try to push them back as far as possible with the guarantee, even if it means conceding a couple of points.
That would make sense to me, as Levesque back there to probably take a knee. There's just under 7 seconds left in the third quarter of the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl, as Levesque running around, as kickers seem to like to do, chewing some time off the clock. And it does seem like the East is going into this win, although it does swirl a little bit into the stadium, so trying to eat up some time so they can get more time and quickly get to that fourth quarter to be with the win as they give up the 2-point safety. It's now 14-5 for the East squad.
And with 6:39 remaining, we're getting a good taste of how, at halftime, I'm sure both teams were to address certain modifications they want to do, certain adjustments they had to make in the respective huddles or respective schemes. And we can see that the studying is now over, but we're doing a good job moving the football. So at the end of the day, I think field possession kind of shot the East in the foot, but I see that the West have gained a little more momentum, maybe with the wind at their back, but they're able to bring that football. They were able to gain 50 yards on their first drive. Ended up in a punt, Justin, but nonetheless, I think we're going to see a little more dynamic offenses throwing the football down as the quarterback seemed to be a little more comfortable in the pocket.
And we see the wind at play here as the West team is actually going to elect to return the football instead of just take it at their own 35. So Levesque will kick off from the right hash. Travell Pinto, and I believe that was his teammate, number 8, it is Stavros Katsitanis, the first-team All-Canadian safety, back to return with Pinto. A couple of dangerous playmakers back there that Levesque will kick the football off to as the West squad looks to continue to chip away at this lead. The defense, and they can say the offense helped them out a little bit because they drove the ball to get that safety on the board, looking to continue that momentum and get their first touchdown of the day possibly here. Levesque kicks it away. Pinto and Katsitanis have a little who's going to take it, I got it, you take it, but Pinto finally grabs it, and he ends up going backwards, and more laundry on the turf as 2 flags are down after the return by Pinto that is probably going to net at a loss of yards.
I was going to ask you before Levesque kicked it off, who would you kick it to? And I think he did the best job. He kicked it in between and maybe make them fight for the ball and maybe give the coverage team a couple of seconds there down to get down the field. But I think the flags might be a little holding call for in favor of the East, so it's going to back up West offense once again closer to their goal line.
Levesque with a good kickoff into the win there, and we talked about the decision by the West squad to actually return it whereas they could have had it on the 35. Now they are going to start, because of the penalty, just outside their 5-yard line on about the 7. So once again, the West has to start a drive from the shadow of their own goalposts.
It's familiar territory for the West, so at least that's comforting to say. But they've shown it on their last drive. They were able to get out. Why? Because short, small, consolidated plays were able to, towards the sideline, out patterns, use the flats, spread out the defense, and then they came over the top with a couple of runs. So I think they'll be able to get out of this if they stick to their simple recipe.
Landers back in that shotgun, 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the bottom of the screen, and Landers escapes the pocket, throws it across the middle. Big play there as Landers using his feet to buy some time and find Kyle Mortgat coming across the middle on the deep crossing route. The University of Regina receiver making a big catch for a long gain as Landers once again using those feet to buy time.
Different crossing route, but let's give credit to the O-line. They gave their quarterback enough time to make that pass to Mortgat, and the Calgary native was able to make that easy catch. So it's a simple play. It's an over, but when you have enough time to make that read, then it's just about catching the football. So great first down for the West.
Landers back in shotgun, hands it to McMaster running back Jordan Lyons, who pounds away up the middle for about a gain of 5 on first down.
So now when you have a great deep threat over the middle, it kind of puts your linebackers a little more on their heels and on their toes, and then that gives the opportunity for the O-line to actually rush a bit more. And so that's probably the easiest 5 yards they were able to run today, giving them closer to the center field after a 5-yard gain.
Landers back in shotgun, single back set, turns and hands to Lyons, looking for that corner. Stiffs arms one defender, then Francois Hamel helps run him out of bounds. The University of Montreal defensive back as Lyons picks up a couple. It's going to be close to see if it's a first down or not, but indeed the chains are going to move.
So great third quarter as well for Landers. We go back for that throw and catch. He's 5 for 10 and he's throwing for 50%, but considering that he had a tough time against the win in his first half presence, I think he's gaining momentum and giving a bit of confidence, and the O-line is giving him that with the pass pro that they're offering.
Seems like Landers is settling in. 1st and 10 as Landers off play action. Quick throw to Curly Gittens Jr., who almost slips but uses his hand to stay alive, and there was a seam there. That could have been a bigger play, Matt.
Yeah, and I think he's talking to himself, right? Because I think he saw the green grass and the red end zone at the end of his run, but was able to keep his balance. And Gittens Jr. was able to do that because he kept his feet under him, right? So even if momentum was driving him forward and Landers threw the ball in front, which is what we'd like to see, he was able to drive his feet forward.
And you see some of the highlights here from Curly Gittens Jr., the 2017 OUA MVP, so dynamic with the football in his hands for the Laurier Golden Hawks, really one of their top playmakers and one of the best in the entire country, as we see Gittens Jr. there getting fed the rock again for a first down.
Dynamic player and brings out a threat. So when he does the curl route, he's giving himself a cushion because of the vertical push he has. So if you're a defender and you did a bit of homework, you know how to respect a receiver. You're going to give him that additional yard, but that additional yard becomes dangerous when he comes out on the curl route or the out route, and there is able to convert for a first down.
Some easy yardage there as Landers sets up 1st and 10, right hash. They're in East territory now. Jordan Lyons cutting back against the grain, just off left guard there for a decent gain on first down of about 4 or 5.
So we started the drive, and I think I'm repeating myself on the 3 or 4 yard line once again, Justin, and we see the West building, and Landers is building this drive. So although we've had difficulties in the past, consolidated pass and run, and I'm saying this over the middle out to the sidelines, and we're also building confidence for the O-line because we're giving them time. If we're going to give them pass pro, then run support, then we're actually giving the defensive headache a little more stress as to what's coming for the next offensive play.
Landers from the center of the field, 2nd and about 6, hands it to Lyons, who's stacked up by big Fred Robitaille, number 91 from the Carleton Ravens, in the middle there, in on the tackle. He's created some havoc from the interior, and it's going to be a 3rd down situation again for the West.
Now we're going to fall short, but once again, we seem to be going with Landers, and as he leaves the sideline in his offensive play, he's running back to the huddle, so no kicking today. On the 40, we're on the 39-yard line, and 7 yards to go, and this is repeated territory, right? At the end of the day, if I see Landers rolling out and running with it and getting the first down, it'd be no surprise. He's done it 3 times already today.
3rd and about 6 or a long 7, we'll say. Landers looks left, has Travell Pinto there on the little out curl route, little hitch, and that will move the chains as long as there's no flags down, and I feel like we got to check those in this game. Doesn't look like there's any, so the sticks are moving.
And so there's a threat. We know that Landers can run. He was able to throw while running, and now pocket presence. Backside is able to throw to his slot back, and I like when receivers see coverage recognition. Don't run through a zone, sit down. So a nice out curl, was able to see the yardage, post behind, grab the ball, and convert for a first down. So good job for the West offense in moving the sticks.
Landers on the left hash, 1st and 10, play action pass, pumps, looking for the deep shot down the left side, didn't have it. He's got Mort Gatt free in the back of the end zone, decides to keep it and scamper with his feet on first down. That should put the West offense in a favorable situation as he picks up 10 and the change will move.
Well, I think Morgat's going to want to tech to his quarterback. I was alone, but I think the red jersey maybe was camouflaged with the red end zone. But nonetheless, we're moving the sticks, and I think if you're going to be conservative, make sure you can get positive yards. We're able to convert on first down, get a whole new set of downs, and maybe give a little pat on the shoulder and say, hey, next time you're around, just throw it up. I'll give a catch. So good job on the offense for moving the sticks again.
Just maybe take a look for that green and gold Rams helmet next time as Landers off play action. Nice fake, rolling bootleg to the weak side. Going to run again with his legs out of bounds. Pick up a few on first down for the West.
This time we went to the same option, but we're rolling on the weak side, so a lot less field to work with. And unfortunately for Landers, he only had 1 receiver, and there was double coverage. So if we can't beat him on the vertical with a couple of dance moves, unfortunately you're left holding the football, but was still able to go get 5 yards as he ran out of bounds.
So 2nd and a long 6, it looks like, for the West squad. Landers on the right hash, 2 receivers into the boundary, short side of the field, 3 receivers, strong side. Landers takes a shotgun snap, gives it to Lyons on the zone read, and Matthew Betts on top of Lyons, making sure he hit the turf and stayed there.
Great presence by the D-line, so they won't bite too much. Although we're going inside zone, I think the D-line reacted really well. We're able to close off that gap, and we seem to have a bit of personnel switch. Or are we going for a field goal? Are we bringing on a more jumbo-sized package? But by the looks of it, I think we might conservatively go for 3 points in this case.
Yeah, I would imagine if you get the 3 points and that gets you within 1 score is probably what went through head coach Greg Marshall's mind. And Hope is going to line up for this chip shot 19-yard field goal as time ticks down here in the 3rd quarter, boots it up and through, and that's the final play of the 3rd quarter. The West team gets on the board after a long drive, Matt. You remember where they started, backed up against their own goalpost, and Landers leads it with his arm and his feet.
It was the longest drive of the day for either team. And you know what? They've done it because they've been in that territory, but they built their drive. For the first time, there was no benefit to penalties. This was 100% offensive plays carrying them down the field. We'll wait for the stats, but quick calculation, it was a 9-play drive to put those 3 points on the board, and it was a combination of run and pass. So hats off to offensive play calling, hats off to Landers and his decisions to throw the football and sometimes to keep it. But those 3 points are important 3 points, as you mentioned, Justin, because it puts them within 1. And so maybe it's that 1 score that's going to make the difference today, and we're looking for that offensive touchdown especially.
Could be 14-8. The East leads the West in the 2018 East-West Bowl presented by Valero at TELUS Stadium on the Laval University campus. I'm Justin Dunk, your play-by-play man, along with Matt LeBlanc as we get ready for the 4th quarter. And as you said, Matt, a 1-score game. That's likely why Greg Marshall elected to kick the field goal there. But it felt like a situation that he has normally gone for on 3rd down in this game.
Do you know what? And I think with age becomes a bit of wisdom. And with wisdom, I think he looked at the scoreboard before actually making that decision, saying, you know what, we're going to make a game out of it. The first 2 quarters were risky football. But now going into the 4th, there's 1 quarter to go. I think Coach likes winning as well, right? So he's going to play his cards right, put his players in a good position to win nonetheless. But he's going to take a shot. So maybe it was a circumstantial decision, but he's been relatively risk-taking today, and we'll see how he acts in the 4th quarter.
We shall see as we're about to get underway in the 4th and final quarter. Feels like this game has flown by, but some plays made on either side of the ball as the offenses settle in here in the fourth quarter about to begin, as we see Brett Hunchak, the York University quarterback, out to lead the East offense. 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. Right hash, 3 receivers strong, 2 weak, ace back set for Hunchak. Off zone read, pulls it out. Corner out looking for Keon Julian Grant, the athletic receiver, by the sideline. There's a flag out. Looks like it's going to be pass interference.
Yeah, and bad luck on the pass interference. Maybe a small trip as we're trailing the cover man. Great hesitation, though, on the route, just creating enough for the defensive backs to hesitate. But unfortunately, referee was right there, so he's going to call that every time. And unfortunately for the West, even if good coverage was in position, we're going to benefit from the pass interference and bringing up the yardsticks to the 50-yard line.
Nick Statz and Evan Martin were there in the coverage for the West squad. Looked like Statz, the University of Calgary defensive back, got his feet tangled up with Julian Grant, which drew the flag, and Hunchak and the offense set up 1st and 10 from the 50-yard line. Hunchak looks short side, a little high for Chris Osikusi, who can't reel it in.
And stats have been a lot better just to come back with our quarterback performances thus far. We're talking about Landers who increasingly, especially with the last drive, which culminated in 3 points, went 9 for 15, Justin, for a total of 100 yards passing on the day. So that's, like I said, maybe it's 2 quarters of work, but between you and I, we both know that his first quarter was a little iffy with the win and getting adjusted. So that's almost 1 quarter of football for him. So if that's the end of his day, great quarter and great presence for him.
Has been solid as Hunchak hits Calum Beaver just across the center field stripe on 1st and 10. They'll pick up about, that was 2nd and 10. They'll pick up about 7 on 2nd and long. And it looks like the East offense taking a page out of the West book, staying on the field for about a 3rd and 3 or 4.
We see both appreciations for coaching staffs as they look to each other at all times when they get to see play calling. But 3rd downs have been risky today. And here we go again with the East offense still on the field.
Hunchak in shotgun, 32 set, looking weak side, wants to hit Keon Julian Grant on the corner route, and he had him, but Keon Julian Grant can't bring it in. He had some open space in front of him. That would have been a sure 1st down and maybe even a touchdown, but Julian Grant just can't reel it in with his hands. How does that feel as a former receiver?
You know what? It hurts a bit. It hurts a bit, and it hurts for the quarterback, right? Because Hunchak stayed in the pocket, had great touch on the ball, was getting close to getting sacked, and was able to deliver a ball between the hash, the width of a yard between the sideline and the hash mark. So only his receiver, Julian Grant, can be able to make the catch. So what's frustrating is more coming away on a risky 3rd down play and coming up empty. But at the end of the day, I like that we tried, and if you can touch it, you know what they say, you got to be able to catch it. So unfortunately, it's to repeat on next offensive drive.
That's right. I would echo those sentiments as Michael O'Connor back into the game at quarterback for the West squad. Hits Ryan Shinbine on the little comeback route on the short side of the field, but there is another penalty flag down on the play. Looks like it could be offside on the defense.
I think so. I think we moved a little too quickly defensively. The D-line was quick to jump, but we'll see the official call on the field.
We're going to go offside on the offense, so back 5, 1st and 15. Probably a receiver in motion across the line too early there as O'Connor has another long down situation on 1st down. He'll likely go the rest of the way at quarterback. The talented UBC pivot drawing interest from scouts on both sides of the border sets up 1st and 15 in a 32 set. Ace back looking to the strong side of the field, throwing it down for Mort Gatt, who comes down with it. That is a long throw and a big gain for the West offense.
Vertical route, nothing easier than a vertical route down at the bottom of your screen. Passes coverage, and we're going outside shade, so gets beat. Unfortunately for the East coverage, gets beat outside, and great long ball put outside shoulder for the catch.
And we see some of the highlights from Michael O'Connor at the University of British Columbia, gearing up for a Vanier Cup season. When he first came back north of the border in 2015, the Thunderbirds did claim the Vanier Cup right here on this field, so familiar territory for O'Connor. Very comfortable here as he hands off to Cedric Joseph for a short gain on 1st down.
And how confident must you be? And Justin, maybe you can speak to that effect. When you have confidence in your own skills and you know you're coming back to a season, you have a great 2015 run, good 2016, you're in the position to being drafted as a quarterback and you know you're getting attention. How confident are you going back into the season as a quarterback for your team?
I feel like you can't have enough of that, especially being able to play in a place here where the scouts' eyes are on you, but you won a national title, and you know what that's like, Matt. You have 3 of those rings, so to come back to a place where you feel comfortable, as we see O'Connor hit Jesse Walker on the deep out route for a first down as he takes a shot, you can really see that O'Connor feels confident and is settling in at this familiar place, which has those good feels for him right after the national championship.
And I love to see a quarterback confidence because he's not a panicky quarterback. We can see him in the pocket, look at his footwork. Feet are still under him, but drops and throws the ball with ease. And we're calling this ball out of bounds, so I think we're not giving the catch on the play, which gives him a 3rd and 6. Justin, so we thought it was an easy play, but the referees seemed to say foot was out of bounds.
It did look like it there. O'Connor on about 3rd and 7 from just inside the 35-yard line. 32 ace back set. O'Connor drops to pass. Flush out to his left. Finds Hunter Carl open across the middle but can't deliver the ball on target. Although there is a flag down on the play. It's offside, just a matter of who's it on.
Yeah, offensively, we moved a little quick for the receiving core. And when we're coming in motion, it's tough to stay onside. But unfortunately, we got a little ahead of the count. And that's going to force an automatic turnover. So the East will be able to take and reclaim the ball and hopefully have that beautiful drive that the West was able to benefit with the wind at their back.
That's right. Now the East team gets the benefit of the wind in the 4th quarter, which is why at the start of the game they declined. And as you mentioned, Glenn Constantine always said to you, we'll decline and take the win in the 4th quarter because he knows the stadium so well. So even though he's not the head coach over there and it's Sheriff Nicola, I'm sure Constantine had some influence there as Merchant looks at a 1st and 10, 32 set, give to Paulin, who is dragged down in the backfield. That's going to be no gain. Connor Griffiths, the big defensive lineman from the University of British Columbia, in on the tackle.
And Griffiths has an excellent play, taking on almost a double team and able to shed both to be able to make the tackle. And let's be honest, Paulin is not your average running back. When we were talking about his weight and we talked about him at halftime, 6'2", 240. That's not a lightweight running back to be able to grab with one hand and then take him to the down with your body. But we can say Griffiths was able to do it and did it in fashion for no gain.
Merchant looks at a 2nd and 10, right hash, 32 set. Ace back with Poland beside him. He's looking deep for Malik Richards down the sideline. The Mount Allison receiver hauls it in for a big play. We do have a flag down at the line of scrimmage, and Stavros Katsatanis, the UBC safety, is pointing that it's against the East squad, but nonetheless, great throw by Merchant, hitting Richards in stride.
Keep believing in your route, and that's what oftentimes we do. We start pulling out our legs, lifting up the head, but we kept in his speed, kept going with it. There's no point in, and this is maybe an example to all younger receivers, but make sure that you keep your stride. There's no point in putting out your arms quicker than not. That can wait at the last second. So keeping his legs under him, was able to get those additional steps in and have an easy catch.
But it's going to come all the way back. Offside on the offense. That must have been a receiver in motion, crossed the line too early, takes away a big, long play. Merchant hit Richard streaking down the sideline, but it will go for naught as the East going to be backed up to 2nd and 15 after the offside call for Merchant in the offense, and that one stings a little bit.
That one hurts. Any offensive coordinator will know when you get out of your trouble, you leave your own 30-yard line and put your ball in the opponent's 30-yard line and have it drawn back by a penalty. It stings just a little.
Merchant 2nd and 15, looking strong side of the field, feels some pressure in his face, and he is thrown down by Derek Dufault, the Manitoba defensive end. The Bison wraps up Merchant for a big sack on 2nd and long, and that will force a punt.
Yeah, and Dufault punishes in this case because he's not only throwing them around, but you can see comes off the edge, was able to, with his spin move, to get in the backfield, and grasps, holds on, and spins, unfortunately, Merchant to the ground for a tackle for loss. Great quarterback sack, but great presence. It started from the get-go, from his three-point stance with his spin move, and hopefully he didn't have contain, but was able to hold on to his quarterback for the sack.
Well, you can always go back to your coach and say, even if I had contained, I did my job. Quarterback came down to the ground. So we have Levesque back to punt on 3rd and very long with, once again, Curly Gittins Jr., the OUA MVP last season, and Jamel Lyles from the University of Manitoba back as returners for the West squad. Lyles will once again catch it in the air, slips up a little bit, trying to cut back against the grain, but some nice coverage downfield by the East team, and Gabrielle Paulin getting down on special teams and making a tackle.
What do scouts like to look at? Versatile players that can play on all 3 aspects of the football, but let's stick to 2. So if you can be a running back and play on special teams, you become additional asset to any scout. And so Paulin was able to run with the football today, but is also a major part of the coverage team, so was able to cover, make the tackle, and limit the gains to almost a loss.
As you said, Matt, the more you can do, the better. And Gabriel Paulin has come into this game slimmed down from last season, a big, hulking, explosive running back, showing he can get down and cover as well, making a sure tackle on a dangerous receiver. So he's got some special teams ability that scouts will like at the next level, as we see the injured receiver, I believe that is Zach Graveson from Bishops, getting up and looks like he's fine and ready to go for the rest of the game. We have another penalty on the play. This will push and improve the West field position to start the drive, and Michael O'Connor probably has to like this. In the first quarter, a bunch of his drives started up against his own end zone and goalposts, and now the West will start with O'Connor at quarterback, 1st and 10 at the 47-yard line when they stretch out the sticks, and he comes out with Jamel Lyles behind him, 2 backs in the backfield, 3 receivers to his left, 1 on the right. That's Travell Pinto, his number 1 target from the Thunderbirds, and O'Connor back to pass, looking that way for Pinto, trying to fit it into tight coverage, but credit number 1 out there, Samuel Paulin, sticking tight to Pinto.
So both Paulin brothers, having great offsetting plays, so 1 tackle on coverage, the other one on the coverage after the pass from O'Connor. But unfortunately, we're coming just a little up short with O'Connor's pass. He tried to fit it in, but let's be honest, coverage was tight. It had probably been over the backside shoulder of his receiver to give him a chance to catch it, or any fly and die kind of route could have maybe worked. But we're going deep because we do want to, and we do have the necessity to score with 8:42 to go.
2nd down and 10 from the middle of the field. O'Connor across the middle. Ryan Shinbein trying to make a couple moves and get that 1st down, but he gets about 7 or 8 on the play, and this is prime territory for the West to stay on the field and go for it on 3rd down.
Yeah, green light from Coach Marshall once again. I don't even think the offensive coordinator asking if they can go on it. I think we're just going to go for it. But this was the case from the get-go in the first quarter, and now even with only 8 minutes to go in the game, the West are showing confidence, and I think it's a vote of confidence to the quarterbacks and to the O-line, saying we're going to give the QB enough time to throw the ball. We have trust in O'Connor to make the proper read, and we're looking for 4 yards, right? So an easy hitch route or a little out to the sideline can do the trick.
O'Connor takes the shotgun snap, out route throw to Shinbein. Tight coverage there. Shinbein can't hang on to it, and the West offense will turn it over on downs back to the East.
So great possession. Almost had a chance to make that catch, and the receiver kind of mentions it to himself. The Rams receiver, number 14, Shinbein, is kind of identifying that O'Connor, that was my bad. I had a chance to catch the football, but the coverage was nonetheless there, and we took the risk. Good risk to take. We need to put the ball in the end zone to actually give ourselves a chance to win the game. But the East still stays strong in the coverage and gives their offense another opportunity to put points on the board.
Nick Hallett from the University of Toronto was in on that tight coverage as the East sets up on offense. 1st and 10. Merchant at about the middle of the field. 3 receivers to his left, 2 to his right. Bootleg to the left. Merchant looking to avoid tacklers, but he's going to be pulled down for a loss by Latoro Frencha, the Waterloo defensive back.
And we're taking maybe a little risk as we ask Merchant to leave the pocket, roll off his back foot to make a deeper throw. He had kind of, we'll say, 2 receivers somewhat open, but unfortunately off the back foot with the pressure coming, it's tough to have that planned foot in place to be able to deliver a good, solid football. And so unfortunately had to take the sack outside the pocket, leaving him a 2nd and 12 yards to go.
That's right. Merchant will set up on the left hash, deploying 2 receivers to the short side of the field in his left and 3 to the strong side. Paulin right beside him as the ace back Merchant drops to pass, looking across the middle, has Calum Beaver. The ball arrived a little too late, and that's Stavros Katsitanis, the Bakersfield Bandit, knocking one away as he's done so often for the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds.
Katsitanis keeps his eyes on the quarterback, and as soon as the ball left his hands, he was first to commit on the down route and be able to come and simultaneously have a jump up of the ball, right? We could have had a poor timing and had a defensive pass interference, but in this case, timing was perfect, synchronized, and it's going to force, once again, Levesque posted at his 22-yard line for another punt.
The West defense gets a critical 2 and out as they look to get back in this ball game. 6:34 and counting left in the fourth quarter here in the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl. Jamel Lyles hauls in the Levesque punt as he tries to get over to the strong side. It's being set up, but flag thrown. That's likely a block in the back as Lyles does a good job to get all the way back to the strong side of the field, pick up some decent yardage, although there's some laundry on the turf.
There is some laundry. It's away from the play, so I'd be curious to see what impact it had on the play. Probably, obviously, an illegal block of some sort, but let's give credit to special teams. I don't think we spend a lot of time at an East-West Bowl game of communicating schemes on special teams. And so for the athletes to be able to get good returns, I think it's just a man against man, body against body kind of blocking scheme where we can get these returners up the field as quick as possible. But great skill once again as he turns the corner and is able to go get those additional positive yards. But as we mentioned, the flag on the field, it will be against the West, Justin. It will unfortunately back up O'Connor and the offense within their 20-yard line.
That's right. Another solid return that's bumped back or a big play that goes for naught as the West going to start out here with O'Connor at quarterback. 6:17 left on the clock in the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl from TELUS Stadium on the Laval University campus. Beautiful day here for football. There's about 5,000 or 6,000 people in attendance in this football-crazed city as they watch the drama unfold here in a 6-point ball game.
So another important drive for O'Connor, Justin, as with 6:12 to go, they have to probably make this climb to make it count.
Lyles takes the handoff from O'Connor, gets to the outside. Flag flies from behind the play, likely a holding call. And once again, we're going to have a very positive gain that would have gone for a first down, brought back by penalty.
Great decision by Lyles, looking upfield first. Gets out to the corner and benefits from his receiver blocking. So number one, Shea Ross is able to make that block. And then he calls upon the defender to come and have that head-to-head kind of tackle contact. But great job of getting outside for Lyles and turning the corner. But unfortunately for Lyles, holding against the offense, which maybe is the reason why he was able to get free out of the corner. But nonetheless, great speed to get out there. And so I think he showed enough skill to get out there. But unfortunately for the hold, we're going to have to bring back the offense for a 1st and 20.
Another 1st and long situation for O'Connor and the West offense, right backed up against their goal line and end zone as they're in the middle of the field. 3 receivers left, 2 to the right. Ace back set. Lyles in there with O'Connor in the backfield as he drops to pass, dumps it off to Nikola Kalinic, the big physical receiver from York, bangs down for a gain of about 10.
Great presence. We know where the down markers are. Is able to go get 10 yards straight up the gut. So midfield, and I did only say 11 yards. So it gives them a 2 and 9-ish. And gives them a little breathing room because O'Connor has great presence at 6'5", but nonetheless, when the pressure is on and we're backed up against our end zone, it's a lot tougher to take that additional second to find that deep route to make sure we can convert for the first down.
So O'Connor gets a chunk, and now he's looking at 2nd and 9. 3 receivers left, 2 to the right. Lyles once again behind him in the backfield. O'Connor seemed to take a little bit of time there to get the play off, and it could be a time count violation that's going to go against the West squad. Indeed it is, and the West squad will back up 5, which will make it more of a 2nd and 14 situation. Looks like they'll come out in the same formation. O'Connor in the shotgun. Lyles once again with him in the backfield. 3 receivers to the strong side, 2 into the short side, and O'Connor looking to convert a 2nd and 14 shotgun snap. O'Connor in the pocket, delivers a ball deep down the middle, looking for Curly Gittens Jr. among 2 defenders, but he can't come up with it. That would have been a miraculous grab.
Great coverage, but it's tough to beat a double team. Unfortunately, Gittens Jr., he had a kind of a good matchup to run against, so good vertical route, but unfortunately there was help from the free safety to help out on that double team. Luckily, the ball fell on the ground and will be forced to punt.
Jamie Harry and Cody Cranston, teammates at the University of Ottawa, in coverage there on Gittens Jr. Looked like O'Connor was just throwing it up and hoping his athletic receiver could go up and make a play on a 2nd and 14 situation, as it's 3rd and 14 now, and Hope from his own end zone is going to boot it away, and Keon Julian Grant hauls it in. The St. FX athlete looking for some space, finds a little seam across the middle, and he was almost into wide open spaces, but Colton Hunchak, the York University receiver, making a tackle on special teams.
Great return. I was going to say that maybe the interception would have been a better kick. And ultimately, no, the punt was great, but the return is making, unfortunately for the West, time to pay off, because it's the 3rd great return we've had all day, and both teams have had their success, but field position has been key, and unfortunately for the West, the East offense will be in good position, and I will take that away because there was another penalty, Justin, as the referee confirms, holding, so maybe that's what gave the chance for that long and powerful return, but we're coming back across the field to the 45-yard line as holding was against the East return.
You know, sometimes I felt like as an offensive player, the referees like to get too involved in the game. There's been a lot of plays taken off the board here. That looked like a clean return, but nonetheless, 1st and 10 at the 45-yard line for the East offense. 4:24 left in the 4th quarter. 14-8, the East nursing a 6-point lead as Merchant barks out the signals, turns around, hands it off to the big running back, Paulin, who dives across the 45 for a short gain.
Good job by the defense to be able to make Paulin make a decision once he got the ball. And that always frustrates a running back when he doesn't have the chance to have his 2nd, 3rd kind of run at it. And when his first step is a hesitation step, then he has to take a leap of faith into the hole. And unfortunately, the defense was able to hold strong and limit the gains to none. 2nd and 10.
That's right, as Merchant comes out in the familiar ace back set. Paulin to his left, 32, 3 receivers to the strong side of the field. Looks like a blitz coming off the edge is picked up. Merchant across the middle. It's going to be intercepted. This could be the game-changing play the West squad was looking for, as it's Peyton Hall making the interception, and a bit of a gift thrown to him as Merchant way overthrew his receiver across the middle.
The Saskatchewan DB well-positioned, ball overthrown, and simply had to pick it out of the sky. So good return, crosses center of the field, and gives his offense one potentially last chance with 3:31 to go, as O'Connor's on the field looking down at his offensive huddle and seeing the end zone as the game-changing drive.
It could be 1st and 10 for the West on the left hash. Hunter Carl split out to the short side of the field, the only receiver there. Handoff to Jeshron Antwi, looking to cut it back, but then continues his route to the left side of the field. He's ultimately taken down after a gain of just a couple.
Antwi making his right decision, stuttering just a little, looked to his right, saw Matthew Betts, so I guess it gave him a second opinion as to keep going with the drive, but nonetheless, kept his feet under him, followed his big offensive guard, and was able to go get 2-3 positive yards on that run. So once again, positive yards are good in that kind of situation, and we're able to throw just as much as pass on the 2nd down and 7.
When you see Matthew Betts, that will make you think twice. 2nd and 8 for the West offense. O'Connor, shotgun, ace back set, drops to pass, looking for Colton Hunchak on the corner route, and he has his man. Chains, no flags, so they'll move.
The flags are something that are staying in the referee's pockets, but the chains will move, as you mentioned, Justin, and great corner route. Not your traditional deep corner route, but something just positional. Behind the halfback, behind the defensive back, and we're able to move the yardage. So at the end of the day, O'Connor was able to sit in the pocket, throw in time because Matthew Betts off the edge was coming relatively quickly, but able to convert on that pass to number 5, which Hunchak was able to catch and convert for the 1st down.
2:32 and counting left in the 4th quarter. The West squad down by 6 and driving. O'Connor at the controls, looking short side of the field. Once again, hits Hunchak on the quick out route. These two really seem to be developing a late rapport in this game.
Hey, better late than never, and these are two consecutive combinations that they've used, out route, corner route towards the left sideline, working on the weak side of the field, and that short field has given them the advantage of working a quicker pass route. So as they're able to get there quicker, they're able to reset and waste a lot less time with 2:20 to go as they are now on the 17-yard line.
2nd and 1 situation, 2:20 on the clock. West driving. O'Connor turns and hands to Lyles, who cannot get tackled in the backfield, then cuts back inside. What a run. Jamel Lyles to the end zone. Touchdown, West. The Manitoba Bison's running back putting on a show. What a display.
And makes the missed tackle count. So 3 missed tackles on the play, 1 in the backfield. What a great running back does is he makes the first defender miss, but then hopefully misses all other tackles, and we're able to go straight to the end zone. So great run by Lyles. Great two pass play before, and now we're in the end zone, and we're going for 1. So with 2:21, we're going for the 1-point convert to take the win for West.
Key kick coming up here from Hope. It's up and good as the West team takes a 1-point lead. And we have 2:12 left on the clock. What a run by Lyles. He's got pedigree behind him as well. Broke Andrew Harris's rushing record out in the CJFL, the Junior Football League that's played out west. Of course, Andrew Harris, the most outstanding Canadian last year in the CFL, running back for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So Lyles showing his abilities, cutting back against the grain. I honestly thought he was tackled, and then all of a sudden he squirts free and gets into the end zone for a clutch touchdown run.
What presence, and I think he smelt the end zone because he knew he wasn't too far. There was an over pursuit by the defense, thinking probably themselves that he was tackled and tackled for loss. But his explosiveness and his speed was able to redirect towards the middle of the field, find the seam, and find the end zone. So great run, and it's the first lead. It took 4 quarters to get that lead, but with 2:12 to go, it's the first lead the Team West has. So we can say that Coach Greg Marshall and those risky third down conversions have paid off. And once again, the West will kick off, and the East will have this last drive to maybe reclaim the lead and ultimately take the win.
And that Peyton Hall interception looms large. The Saskatchewan defensive back came up with a game-changing play when Merchant threw high over the middle. Hall made the sure-handed grab, and then O'Connor in the offense able to convert after he hits Hunchak for back-to-back completions, and then Lyles takes it to the house as Hope kicks off, and it'll be Keon Julian Grant giving chase, but it goes just out of bounds, and that should draw a flag, and indeed it does come out because the kick went out of bounds before it got to the end zone.
So maybe a small mistake as East will take the penalty and take the ball possession as far up as the field as possible so they don't have to waste these quality seconds off the clock. And these precious seconds will come into play with 2:12 as they've had difficulty in the second half, Justin, is moving the ball as the West have seemed to have taken better momentum, and they've shown us with the last drives that they've done. But let's not count the East out for good. They have a whole 2:12 on the clock, and they know that it's probably their last drive of the day.
Certainly a big drive here for Merchant and the East squad. Down 1 now, 15-14 for the West. 2:12 left in the Valero East-West Bowl, 4th quarter, crunch time. Merchant drops to pass, looks to the wide side of the field, finds Henry out there who makes a little move after the catch, and he's going to be right close to the first down.
So the out routes will probably something that we will concede defensively, right? We will probably protect our deep third, so cover 3s, cover 4s, giving that cushion of about 7 or 8 yards, but we're going to have to take it to be able to convert.
Merchant drops to pass on 1st and 10, but Julian Grant has it go in and out of his hands coming across the field.
So that forces a tougher decision because we had, for Julian Grant, time, space, and grass, but we got to focus on the catch because all this is annulled if we don't have the ball between our 2 hands. So unfortunately for the East, we got to start again at a 2 and 10 on the 50-yard line.
That at least does stop the clock. 1:56 left in the 4th quarter. 2nd and 10. Merchant with the familiar 32 set, 3 receivers strong, 2 weak, backfield right behind him in the ace back, and Merchant faces a little pressure, steps away, going deep for Chris Osikusi on the skinny post, but just out of his reach as he sped up to try to get there.
And Osikusi had a nice skinny post route, so the ball was properly placed just over the safety's head behind coverage. But unfortunately for Merchant, he had to kind of sidestep to be able to get that ball away. So maybe that's the small half step that route undertook. And unfortunately for him, a little too long, but great speed on the route. But unfortunately, 3rd down and 10, and we seem to have a little personnel switch, and Levaik is on the field to punt it away.
And the East squad does indeed decide to kick the football back to the West, down by 1 point, 15-14 West, 1:49 left on the clock. Levaik on the field to punt for the East squad. Jamel Lyles, who scored the go-ahead touchdown, back to return as well with Travel Pinto, and that short punt is going to bounce well in front of the returners. Lyles ends up getting his hands on it. Good awareness as he's going to draw a no yards penalty.
Yeah, no yards will give him 5 additional yards as the ball did touch the ground before the return man was able to catch it. But nonetheless, we will take those 5 yards. And giving the ball back, although I understand it was a 3rd and 10, is probably the toughest decision Coach Sheriff Nicola had to make today, because with the momentum on the West offensive side and how they were able to drive the field thus far in the second half of the football game, is going to be a tough match for the East defense to be able to get to that backfield and be able to get the ball back.
Especially with the way O'Connor gets it out so quickly. 1st and 10 off the left hash mark. They turn and hand it to Jordan Lyons, a McMaster running back, bowling his way over the 40-yard line. That'll be a gain of about 5 or 6 on 1st down for the West.
Smart offensive decision as well. Let's put the ball on the ground, have the clock run, but eliminate the biggest threat. The biggest threat thus far this game is the defensive line. So if they can't put a physical presence in the backfield and make the quarterback throw the football, well, in that case, O'Connor has no threat. He can give the ball off, get a couple of positive yards, and when your running back can go get 6 on a 1st down, that simplifies the playbook, and they're going to use up all the time as possible, even if we have a couple of timeouts remaining.
Lyles, the power running back, gains actually 6 on that 1st down play. It'll be 2nd and 4 as there's 1:33 left on the clock. We have a timeout called by the East squad to try to conserve some of that time to see if they can get the ball back, but at first they got to get a stop. 2nd and 4, crucial down coming. O'Connor at quarterback, 2 receivers to the short side, 2 on the strong side, 2 running backs in the backfield on this critical 2nd down play. O'Connor turns, zone read, gives it to Lyons off the right side as they battle away. It's going to be close to 1st down yardage there, but if it's 3rd and even a short situation, Greg Marshall's probably going to think about going for it.
And the referees agree, so may as well give it to him right away. So the yards are gained. It'll be 1st once again on their own 47-yard line, but positive is our game by the run. So with 1:26 clock on the move, East are left with little time if they do get and are able to get that 2 and out.
Big 1st down run there by Jordan Lyons, the McMaster University running back. 1:26 left on the clock as, again, we have a timeout to conserve time for the East squad, or who are hoping their defense can hold and get the football back. It was Jamel Lyles with a big 18-yard touchdown run on the last drive for the West to put the West team up by 1 and have this lead that they do right now, leading 15-14 with 1:26 left to go in the Valero East-West Bowl here at Laval University. It has been a great event all week, Matt. I feel like every time I come to Laval, it's a professional atmosphere. It was no difference this time around.
And they want to hold this high standard. And I'm saying this not because I played here, but because that's what the people want to have as an experience. They want to offer that experience, and they want to say whatever team does come has that experience when they actually do go back home. It helps when the crowd is there. It helps when the people are there, but I like to see that there's 6,000 people that came out to encourage the players.
And on 1st and 10, Lions up the middle, gets stacked up after a shorter gain this time of about 4, but still a solid 2nd down situation if you're the offense.
Once again, Justin, you're right. And you know what? An offensive coordinator will ask of this at all times. If you can give me on a first down run 4, 5, 6 yards, you're simplifying my life as an offensive coordinator for all the plays to come. And so especially in a fourth quarter situation, last drive pending with a minute to go, you want to chew up as much time as possible on the clock. And if the run game works, then stick with it. So good job for West in keeping with the run game.
And the time is now ticking. We're just about to go under 1 minute to go in the fourth quarter. O'Connor snap is high, but Lyles has the awareness to catch it, makes some moves, and actually ends up getting back to the original line of scrimmage. Man, he's shifty.
Great awareness. Not only awareness to catch the football, but then to do something with it. And I think he was able to regain the exact hole positioning where he was going to actually go with their run. So it was maybe a counter step to the right to come back towards the left. But great presence by Lyles as he limited the loss and actually was able to get a gain of maybe 2 yards on the play.
We have an injury after the play as well. Gordon White, the St. Francis Xavier linebacker, down being tended to by trainers. And Matt, I touched on it just a minute ago, but all of the players and even the coaching staff from across the country love coming here because they know the event is going to be run in such a pro manner. And the facilities here are amazing. If it's a beautiful day like it is today, you can practice outside. But if it happens to rain, you can come inside. And just the whole way that the program is run has that pro feel, which is why everyone from around the country enjoys coming to Quebec City or Saint-Foy for the event.
And you know what, Justin, I appreciate you mentioning, and on behalf of the people from Quebec, I mean, we like when people come from out of town. And I think Quebec City likes to be hosting these things because they want to give that experience, as I mentioned. But it can't be done without an opposing team, right? And so when these games are held for the exhibition games where McMaster has come and Western has come, whatever team actually ends up coming here, we know that football can't be done without an opposing team. And so we appreciate when people come, and we want to treat them in the best manner. So whatever team does get to, don't get me wrong, the fans will give the opposing team a hard time. That's what the 20,000 people like to do here. But nonetheless, it's done in a manner where people love their football here. They learn to appreciate it over time. And the program in itself and the willingness to make the program better, right? Laval always wanted to say, let's build on something that can be great and lift the bar for everyone else to follow. And at the end of the day, I think they've done that thus far. And they've done it for U Sports, right? At the end of the day, today is, maybe there's a little benefit to Laval as being showcased here, but at the end of the day, it's doing it for U Sports and for whatever teams or stadiums to take it in the past. I hope it just brings this momentum along to we can live the standards of Canadian university football in that direction and giving that showcase window, as you mentioned, that it is a professional style kind of welcome, but I think it's because we do have some pretty good potential professional style players on the field as well.
And the Vanier Cup will be back here for the next 2 years. It was just announced on Monday this week leading into the East-West Bowl, so people will be looking forward to coming back to Quebec City for the national championship as Hope punts it away on third and about 6, and Keon Julian Grant can't catch it in the air, so it bounces out of bounds, goes out at the 11. So with 24 and a half seconds left on the stadium clock, Chris Merchant, the Western Mustangs quarterback, is going to come onto the field and try to have to somehow figure out a way to get his offense in field goal position.
Remember at their before last drive, Justin, they were at their same yard mark, and they threw a deep fade route, which was completed but called back because of a penalty. They're going to need about 2 of those plays in the 24 seconds left. The only fortunate thing is coverage is aware of that, so they're going to be a lot more conservative. We're going to drop a couple of men deep just to make sure that we don't let anything pass over our heads.
Merchant in the shotgun from the right hash, 32 set, crossing route across the middle, thrown behind Calum Beaver, can't turn and make the difficult catch. Only 4 seconds come off the clock there as there's 20 left, and the East offense looking at a 2nd and 10 situation. What kind of play would you be looking at here, Matt, on 2nd and 10?
I'd try to find an isolation of my best athlete on the day, and it's maybe not based on testing, but it's the one that was able to get the ball, to catch the ball, but also isolate him in the best of one-on-one potential kind of route and push that vertical as much as possible. So I'd go for a deep corner route so I can actually give that leverage of the sideline and hopefully put some air underneath it so it's a jump ball for the one to come down with it.
Let's see what Merchant goes for in the pocket. Disrupted by Robbie Smith, and he's not getting away from the big, long, lean athlete and Robbie Smith, who comes up with a crucial sack here with 14 seconds on the clock, making it a 3rd and about 16 situation as Smith gets in and wreaks some havoc on the Western passer.
And when you're close to the side, to the end zone, I guess it's easier for a defense to be a little more in confidence, come with pressure, and make sure that Merchant in this case had no other option than to conserve the football, hold it in, and take the sack. But once again, Robbie Smith, defensive line at 6'2", 240 from Laurier, was able to not only hold on tight, but make sure that that sack counted. As with 14.6 seconds on the clock, this might be the last play of the game in the offensive, at least, stint for the East team.
It is do or die for the East team. Merchant at quarterback. Going to get this snap right about on his own goal line. Needs 16 yards for a first down to move the chains. Let's see what he's got. Drops to pass, looks across the middle, hits Calum Beaver underneath. West defense rallies to the football and indeed stop him from getting the first down. That's Philippe Dion, the Western linebacker, making a sure tackle, number 33 on the play.
And unfortunately for the East, there's one whole big second left on the clock, so they're going to probably run this out, put a knee down, and call it a day. But I think we can speak to the effect that both teams laid it out, and all the respect for the offensive management on the West side as they built this game slowly but surely. Rough beginning, but finished strong with good passes, good offensive decision-making as well. And although they took some risk at the beginning, the risk did pay off at the end, as Lyles was able to score the game-winning touchdown late in the fourth quarter with 2:21 to go.
And O'Connor was the one that really seemed to get that drive going on that nice corner route to Colton Hunchak along the sidelines. And then Lyles, as you said, Matt, finishes it off. And that indeed is the game-deciding touchdown as the East kneels it out. And they take the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl by a score of 15-14 over the East. A tightly contested game, but it's Jamel Lyles, the University of Manitoba Bison's running back, with the key game-changing touchdown from 18 yards out. What a run it was.
What a run it was, what great blocking there was, but also you have to come back to the running back who didn't quit on the play. He was maybe tackled for loss, shook that tackle. Defensive back came out of nowhere, shook that tackle, and then saw the end zone, saw the red, and went for it and scored that game-winning touchdown. So hats off to him and the O-line for pushing that 18-yard play into the end zone.
Lyles from Surrey, BC. I'm sure they're probably tuned in on the West Coast to see how their boy did. And, man, what an impact he made in the fourth quarter. He's from the High School of Lord Tweedsmuir Secondary out in BC as well, and came back to the Bisons last season after 1 year away playing in the Canadian Junior Football League. Obviously made an impact on that Bisons offense and does so here with a big key scoring touchdown. But as we talked about, it was O'Connor that really got that drive going, and there's so much focus on him coming into the game, and we talked about him a lot off the top. He finishes the day 11 for 17, 117 yards. Matt, what were your impressions of the big quarterback?
Poise. And you know what? Although things were tough in the beginning, he stuck with it. He didn't have to panic, and didn't panic for that matter, and was able to find receivers. Nothing spectacular, and that's what I liked about it. There was no one big play. There was no one isolated moment in time. He distributed the ball to his playmakers. And as much as it could have been on the ground with Lyles or any other receiver, he had 5 receivers touch the football today. And when you have that many receivers touching the football, that means you're putting faith into your encouragement and strength into those guys and giving them confidence to actually deliver the team some points or some positive yards. And when good quarterbacks end up doing that, guess what? It motivates an O-line to protect. It motivates receivers to run proper routes. And it gives you a win by 1 point at the end of a game, right? So at the end of the day, if things are tough, you got to keep it with it. And it's an excellent example, as O'Connor did. And you know what? I'll lift my hat off to Landers as well. 10 for 18, 119 yards. They split the time today. They split the stats today. And I think it was a team effort. And although they played both half a game, I think they both contributed into that momentum switch that the West was able to take over in the second half.
Yeah, Landers actually is a converted defensive back, if you can believe it. Was a starting DB for the Griffins just a couple years ago. Flips over to the offensive side. And as you said, Matt, had that long drive down that gave them that field goal to get them within one score of this ball game and give the baton, so to speak, back to O'Connor in the offense in the fourth quarter. And I feel like what has flown under the radar in this game was the performance by the West defense, because they did not allow a touchdown today. The only touchdown that came was via Matthew Betts on that strip sack fumble return, although the fumble didn't even hit the ground. The West defense really came to play.
Agreed, and let's be honest, 14 points were scored almost in the first quarter of the game. And like you mentioned, the first and only touchdown of the game was a defensive one. And so right on you to shine the light on the defense that maybe went unheard of with regards to individuals, but collectively, knockdowns, pressure, and slowly but surely we will get the job done. They kind of limited that offense to limited yards, limited passing and rushing yards. Penalties didn't obviously help, Justin, but at the end of the day, guess what? You're right. If you don't let the other team's offense score points, I hope you win the football game in the end.
For me, there were a couple of defensive backs that stuck out for the West squad. Malcolm Lee, who was actually a scholarship type of athlete in the NCAA, went to the University of Nevada as a receiver, came back to UBC, transferred back, flipped over to the defensive side of the ball. We saw him with a couple sure tackles. And then Stavros Katsatanis, the Bakersfield Bandit, got his hands on a couple footballs today. Didn't have an interception, but still the Bandit got his hands on some footballs. And those were a couple guys to me, other than Robbie Smith, of course, up front, that stuck out from a pass rush perspective, that really stuck out for the defense that was led by coordinator Dwayne Cameron from Laurier.
Agreed. And, if we kind of do shine the light a bit on the East offense nonetheless, we can talk about Chris Osikusi, who does have 5 receptions today for totaling almost 50 yards. Unfortunately, maybe had a drop here or there, but those are pressure moments, sometimes tight coverage and so on and so forth. So there were good standouts offensively, as though time was split between Brett Hunchuk and Chris Merchant. But as time are split, we can say that both teams had the same kind of circumstances in which they had to evolve in, right? So the better of the two teams was the one that built the game from the first to the fourth quarter, and had, although the early momentum in with the East offense, the West built a football game from start to finish. And hats off to Coach Greg Marshall and all his staff for a week of probably intense kind of conditioning with his players to make them shine as best as they could in testing, but also on the field. And ultimately, I think the better team won today. I don't know if you agree with that, Justin.
It would seem to be that way just from the defensive perspective. Obviously, Betts had the touchdown for the East squad, as we talked about. But from an overall perspective, and yes, let's throw the penalties out the window, especially in an all-star game. We want to focus on the athletes. The West overall seemed more composed. They had the turnover to Betts, but that was a little bit just of a miscommunication in the backfield. But when it came to crunch time, it was clear that the West team was ready to make those plays that was going to tip the score in their favor.
Agreed. And, it's tough to say because we're going to be going and throwing the ball soon to Christian Cote, who's the announcer here, the local announcer here for the player of the game. But it's tough to call one out, and I don't know which one will end up winning from the East and the West side. But know this, it was a good, hard-fought football game where I think, generally speaking, no one really ultimately stood out. I think it was a good team effort. It's maybe a little cliche to say it that way, but
for the Eastern team, number 9, numéro 9, Mathieu Betts. Félicitations, Matt. Alors, Mathieu, deux petites questions pour toi. D'abord, un match à domicile devant les partisans. C'est un match spécial pour toi. Parle-nous de ton match, s'il te plaît.
Je pense que c'était super le fun, évidemment, de côtoyer tout le monde ici cette semaine, du monde de plusieurs programmes à travers le Canada, autant dans l'Est que dans l'Ouest. Donc, évidemment, c'était juste bien conclure la semaine ici. Donc, on avait beaucoup de plaisir. Évidemment, c'était plaisant de côtoyer d'autres joueurs, mais aussi, évidemment, les joueurs, mes coéquipiers ici au Rouge et Or. Donc, Piqué, Sam, Vince, toute la gang. Là, je sais que j'en oublie, mais c'était une semaine super le fun overall.
Mathieu, dans une semaine comme ça, comment on se prépare pour un match qui est avec un paquet de joueurs de plusieurs équipes? Les stratégies, évidemment, on ne les pratique pas pendant plusieurs semaines. Alors, quelle a été la clé pour la préparation pour votre équipe cette semaine et pour toi?
C'est certain que c'est difficile d'essayer de mettre une équipe sur place en 4 jours seulement, mais je pense qu'on a fait un beau travail. On en doit beaucoup au coaching staff ici. Évidemment, défensive à Coach Polo, Coach Dave sur la ligne défensive qui nous ont préparés pour la semaine, évidemment, Coach Sheriff qui a mené l'équipe d'une main d'as, évidemment. Donc, c'est sûr que ça aide quand on travaille avec des bonnes personnes. Puis, c'est pas mal ça que j'ai à dire.
Bien, merci. Joueur du match, équipe de l'Est, Mathieu Betts. Et maintenant, la présentation du joueur du match pour l'équipe de l'Ouest. MVP from the West team. Number 5, numéro 5, Colton Hunchak. So, Colton, you want to tell us a little bit about your game?
It was great. I mean, the guys, playing with all these guys, learning things from them throughout the week, just made me a better player here today.
What's the difference between playing for your team, the Lions, and being here with all those players, great players from all over the West teams?
Yeah, I think you just said it right there. Just being surrounded by these great athletes this week made me such a better player for the future.
What's your main goal for the year to come?
Just focus on the off season and do what I can to help my team.
Okay, thank you so much, Colton Hunchak for the Lions.
Those are your two players of the game. Of course, Colton Hunchak from York University with the big play that got that touchdown drive going that sealed it with the Jamal Lyles 18-yard run. And, Matt, what a week it has been here at the Laval University campus. An amazing event put on by the crew. A lot of work goes into this behind the scenes, not only just for this broadcast, but for the entire week as a whole to coordinate all of these players, about 90 of them coming in from all corners of the country. Schedules have to be built. They all got to be put up in residences and fed. And then there's obviously the logistics of, as Matthew Betts talked about in French, but for the English people, getting a team together and ready to play in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, and if I just make the last couple of seconds and translating a bit of what Matthew said in English, is he was simply saying it's a tough task for coaching staff and players in 4 or 5 days to showcase talent and actually put a game on, right? And they want to please the crowd. They want to please themselves individually as accomplished athletes. But he said at the end of the day, keep things simple and let yourself shine, because you've played football long enough to be able to do it. But he wanted to give a big hats off to the coaching staff and the organization as to it's a short, condensed week to be able to perform at this kind of level and offer a show. So hats off to them and hats off to both teams. I mean, he's saying this maybe in a losing cause, but I think generally speaking, we can talk as the event was a win for both sides of the field.
Certainly, and Matthew Betts, much deserving to be player of the game for the East squad. Had the touchdown that we talked about, of course, but flashed that pass rush ability, an ability to really disrupt an offensive game plan that has scouts paying so much attention to him on both sides of the border, Matt. And you know this well. He is a star in this town based off the attention he got. When I was here on Tuesday for the opening press conference, all the French media wanted to talk to Matthew Betts. It wasn't the quarterbacks of the teams. It was number 9 from the Laval Rouge et Or.
And he's a gentleman. He's a genuine dude that doesn't think much of himself. He comes out, he buckles up, puts the mouthpiece in, and plays football. And that's what I think the media likes, because he's got nothing to tell them, right? And they're always trying to get the story out of him. But I think shining the light on the sport in itself, and if we can take certain icons across the country that do bring that little sparkle a bit more, or shine that light just a bit more on the sport, then so be it. And Matthew always said, and he's had this conversation with me before, if I'm that locomotive that does it for now, so be it. There'll be someone else some other day, and I'll keep doing what I have to do until I can't do it no longer. So hats off to him, hats off to all players for that, because some had to travel from a lot further. Matthew had to cross the street, some have to cross the country. So at the end of the day, it's a quick bind from summer. They finish school, they come out here, they run their best to be able to perform and shine in front of the scouts and their futures, and then they go back home, right, to train for this upcoming season, 2018 football season. So I think U Sports is in good hands with what we've seen on the field thus far, and I can't wait to actually see these players evolve in their respective teams coming up for the next season.
Lots of talented athletes on display here, and very apropos that the first official U Sports football game is played at TELUS Stadium, because the last one this year is going to be played here in terms of the Vanier Cup, as the Laval Rouge et Or will play host again, and obviously there will be lots of people wanting the Rouge et Or to get into that football game. But the conclusion of the 2018 Valero East-West Bowl, West side 15, East side 14, in a tight game that came down to the wire at TELUS Stadium. Matt Leblanc, it was a pleasure being with you. 3-time Vanier Cup champion, receiver. You know what it's like to win a national championship. What is ahead of these players as they go into the season and try to get to that ultimate goal of hoisting that trophy?
You know what? It's tough, and you've been there as a quarterback as well, Justin. I think hard work is something that you can't underestimate or undermine, because at the end of the day, it's all you can. And, talent is one thing, but hard work is what all coaches and players will look. And you'll go to war with anyone that's willing to work, but when it's all said and done, it's done. And then you look like you and I, sitting on a media gallery talking about what we used to do, right? So at the end of the day, it's there for a certain period of time, and when you can grasp and seize that moment, these are great opportunities. Would we go play today? The answer is probably not. We're maybe not in that shape anymore. However, do we like the camaraderie and the locker room and all the things that we miss the most? Yes. So while they're there, make sure that you work at it and work as hard as you can. So make sure you leave it on the it's cliche, but leave it on the field, because when it's done. You can't rewind that piece of time, and time is the only thing you can't buy back. So they have to work at it, and you know what? Good things do happen if you work at it. I mean, I've been at Laval. I've been fortunate, as you mentioned, to be in these kind of Vanier Cup championships. But what I do remember is the path, right? And the end game is that result, but it's the path, it's the journey, it's the guys that you get to meet. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't know you before today, but I was very happy to meet you. I've seen you on the player. I've seen you at Stats. I've seen you on the internet, but now I get to meet with you, and I'm very happy to have done this with you today. So good job on you, and best of luck in your continuation.
Yeah, Matt, it was a pleasure. And from the Laval University campus in TELUS Stadium, the West takes it 15-14 in a last-minute thriller, we'll say, in the Valero East-West Bowl. And thanks for joining us from across the country.